Today, my quest to make this tiny Spanish club the best in the world without signing anybody continues. Last time around, we completed our most glorious and yet heartbreaking season so far. We were absolutely on course to win the title, and then, well, we bottled it on the final day and finished second again. And as heartbreaking as that was, what it does mean is that we go again today. Winning La Liga is now firmly in my sights, and do you know what? 2 more seasons, maybe we can win the league, and maybe we can go quite far in the Champions League. That's at least my plan. Come on. This then was that heartbreaking scene at the end of our 14th season at the club. That is right, we are heading into season number 15 today. And 15 seasons, if you'd asked me at the beginning, would I have won the La Liga or won La Liga by this stage? I think I'd probably say I'd be disappointed if I hadn't done, and yet that's kind of where we are, and it's hard to be disappointed with our progress. This was that final league table, joint on points with Atletico, and yet they, after winning their final game and us losing ours to Mallorca, they pipped us to the title again. It now means that La Liga has been won for the past 3 seasons by Atletico Madrid, and we finished second twice. Always the bridesmaid in a Mikel Arteta sort of way. Maybe in Mikel Arteta sort of ways, maybe it's our time now. 2 seasons. Was it 2 seasons Arsenal finished second and then won it in the 3rd? Maybe that's sort of what's at play here. Maybe. And fingers crossed that is exactly the case. We go again, though, in our 15th season where we've built a superstar club. You have to say it. If you look at this first 11, this squad, players now that are reaching, look at that, 29 years old. We're going to have our first new gen player turn 30 this year. That is actually scary. That makes me, like, terrified for the future of this series, because we're going to have to replace Nacho. And actually, even if you look through the squad, one position we've not really got loads in terms of a backup of is at right wing back, because Nacho's just always there. He's the guy, he's the captain, he's got all of the leadership qualities of 12 after many leadership courses that we've sent him on. Yeah, he's now 29. When does he turn 30? He turns 30 in like 11 months. He turned 29 last month, so okay, we've got a little bit of time for that. Is he the oldest? I think there may have been a few older, but we've now sold. Cabrera is a little bit older, actually. In February he will be 30. And then I think it's Luciano Sanchez is the other one. He turns 30 in January. So we are going to see our old guard, the likely lads, if you want to call them that, turning 30 this year. And maybe that just puts that little bit of extra pressure on us to try and win things in this video. In this particular episode, can we go and win La Liga? Maybe can we go and win the Champions League? Maybe today is where this series ends. There was a lot of ending chat in the last episode. I'm very aware of that. And thank you so much for all of your feedback with that as well. It's quite insightful. I like to try and get to grips with what you guys are thinking about the series too. So many of you saying, never finish the series. Keep it going forever. If you finish this before winning the Champions League, I will be livid. And I get you. I hear you. Don't worry. I think you have to kind of trust me on this one. I will try my very best. And hopefully you can see that it comes through in our videos here. I will try and do my best by you and hopefully take all of it into account and do the best for the series. But there's no plans to finish it just yet. Don't worry. Even if, as you will have noticed by the views on the videos and things, you can help with that, by the way. Leave likes on the video. Share it to your mates. Send it to your mum. Whatever helps to get this video out there. We'll make sure that the series can go on for longer. But thank you so much for the ongoing support. Let me now talk you through our plans for season number 15, and maybe we can finish in the perfect way, which is by winning absolutely everything in today's video. How does that sound? I think it sounds good. Here is, though, the season 15 squad it. And this then is the first team squad for season 15. The goalie will be Naf Al-Fahmy. Of course it will. A lot of you asked me to click on the full profile so that you can see things like the attribute polygon and things, so that you can really assess how good the players are. So I'll try and do my best with that as much as I can. Fahmy is now 27 years old. He's got 103 caps for Morocco, and he will continue to be our goalkeeper with Pablo Jimenez as his backup. Pablo Jimenez, by the way, 24 to 27 million pounds in value there. If we were a little bit strapped for cash, which we absolutely are not, by the way, if we go to recruitment, we've got 177 million pounds in the bank and 575,000 pounds of wages left over. I could even make that more because we don't need really transfer budget. 1.3 million left in wages if we wanted to go and use it, and that is in spite of giving our first 11 quite big contracts now. Maybe still not the biggest actually in the league. Pep Vizo, for example, got a new contract. He's on 80 83,000. And I think our biggest earner is Nacho Caballero. Yeah, Nacho Caballero is on 115,000 per week because I think he deserves it. Although he's now 28 years old as well. 2043 in 4 years' time. He'll be 32, so he might actually be on one of his final contracts. Maybe there's one more contract for Nacho Caballero, and it's a bit sad when you think about it like that, isn't it? Anyway, Farmi would be the goalkeeper with Jimenez as the backup, Andrew as third choice. In the B team, we'll have Paul Varela as the backup, or as the keeper in that team, I should say, and Gabriel Arnaiz. By the way, the B team did survive in La Liga 2 last season. I don't know if I brought you an update. If I didn't, they did finish at the end of that season. They finished in 14th, so just away from trouble, really, but not really pulling up any trees in this division. A little bit too close for my liking. 6 points off those relegation places. Hopefully now we've got a slightly better team that I've given them. I think there's some really good players in this B team this year, so hopefully that means that they can creep up the table a little bit. Not that they can get promoted anyway, but you want them to be performing and winning games to really develop those players. Things like morale improves if you're winning games, and I think that's a good thing for boosting up those attributes. When you're playing well, performing well, your morale is high, so you train well, and that all helps to keep growing as a player. So that's kind of the plan there. Anyway, back to this first team squad. The defense, I'm going to go through all of the defenders sort of at once here. Nacho will be the right wing back with Tidian C as the left wing back, and then it will continue to be Martinez and Salas now as the first choice centre back partnership for him. He came through and became the first choice last season. He will continue to be that this year. And I have held on to Antonio and Aguirre as the backup centre-backs there. One player that is kind of stealing a living at this stage is Babacar Camara, who is the fifth choice centre-back, and it's kind of, he just gets to live in the first team, even though he barely ever plays. How many games did he actually play last season? He played, I mean, none. 2 international games last year, and I've kind of written him off turning into a really good player, but I think he's an okay enough fifth choice to sort of be there in case there is an injury crisis, basically. Usually one of the first choice defenders gets an injury and then Camara just takes his place on the bench and never actually comes on because we don't need him to. But that's sort of his weird little role in the squad, and I feel like actually real life teams sort of have these players that are there and don't really get needed all that much, but if in a crisis they're there and can step up and they're old enough and not, you don't feel like you're throwing somebody into the fire at too young of an age. So that's Camara's role in there as the fifth choice. And it does mean that I've set up a B team partnership between Francisco, who I think has a little bit of potential, definitely looking at that profile, some down arrows there, but 20 years old now. If he kicks on a little bit, could definitely see him coming into the first team in the next few years, maybe giving a sale opportunity for somebody like Aguirre or even maybe Antonio if he kicks on. And the other one, and then his partner in the B team, is going to be the big man, Fernando Romero. Again, some down arrows there, but he's 2 years younger and he is 6'7", so I think he could absolutely be an Aguirre replacement. He's very Angal Cusata, somebody did say in a comment a couple of videos ago. Just to go back to right wing back, I did mention that Nacho is now 29 years old. There is a 16-year-old that I actually think could be a decent option maybe in a few seasons time. Antonio Diaz is a right wing back who I think is actually really good, and this is the thing that we did discuss in the last video. He's got massive value. We looked at it when we were looking at some of the players coming through, players like Luis, who when we looked at their release clauses that they wanted in their contract, when they were really high, we see it as a bit of an inclination that they're going to be really good. Antonio Diaz is only 16 and has got 20 to 27 million pounds value playing in our under 19s. Now, his potential is only 3-star, maybe 4. But this tells me that he may have a little bit about him. Maybe it is just because he's got great pace and acceleration and agility at such a young age, and you know how impactful those attributes are really in terms of coming up with the current ability, but also in terms of how effective they are on the field. I think he's got the makings of a really good right wing back. Could do with maybe improving his marking and tackling, but he is only 16. So just wanted to point him out because I could see him coming into the first team squad and maybe replacing somebody like Francesco Sioni, who has now moved in as our backup right wing back in the first team this year. Him coming in is due to a couple of sales, and of course today I do need to make sure I go through all of any sales that I've made, because as you saw by the finances, I have sold quite a few players and brought in quite a lot of money, and I do think I will continue to do that once I've done my squad and decided who's needed and where they're needed. If I feel like a player isn't actually going to contribute all that much, or is going to be a bit of a blocker for one of our young players that I do want to give game time to, I think I will keep moving these players on and not feel too bad about doing that. Players like Ignacio last season was the big one. And I did wonder if you guys would hate me a little bit more for selling Ignacio. Ignacio, by the way, I think did play a whole load of games for Napoli this past season. He was in that. They've listed him already. Well, there you go. He's now transfer listed for £11 million. He did play. Maybe when I looked, it was towards the end of the season. He started 5, came off the bench 18 times, so maybe not quite as much. £36.5 million listed now for 11.25. Is that a sign that we made the right decision here? Should we sign him back? I did always say, loads of you asked me, what would you do if you sold a player that came through your intake? Can you buy them back? And I said, I don't know. We would cross that bridge when we would come to it. I don't think we need to necessarily break our rule of doing no transfers for Jose Ignacio. But can you imagine if somebody triggered the release clause of somebody like Cabrera and then down the line they were listed and it was like, oh, we could buy them back. Maybe then you would think about doing something like this. And it is something that we did end up doing in the Catanzaro save. I think I'm kind of leaning towards not doing it at all in this series. And especially if we don't feel like we need to, and I don't feel like we need to bring Ignacio back, even though he was really good, wasn't he? The problem with him, though, is that him being in the squad meant that Victor Fernandez would be somewhere in there, and we'd have to try and get both of them game time, and Victor Fernandez is one of my big hopes to try and step in and maybe be the next generation of superstar in this team. Maybe him, and then up front, Jose Rodriguez, sort of taking up the mantle a little bit, alongside still Pep Viso is still only 22 years old. So Victor Fernandez is going to be one of my first choice options this year. If we move into the midfield, it will still probably be Sanchez, Viso and Villegas as that midfield three. I like to go to here. I don't know why. When we get to the midfield, I feel like this visualizes it a little bit better. And by the way, I am going to stick with this system with the wide players. We finished second last year and we should have won the league, and it does work. I wonder if tweaking could maybe get even more out of them, but also that becomes a risk. What if they play worse? I think we're going to stick with it and then have it in our back pocket if we need to move a little bit more narrow with the Viso show, as I showed you before. But now Villegas, Sanchez and Viso in that midfield, with of course Victor Fernandez coming in when we need him, and the other midfielder in there who will probably play a little bit less is going to be Bryce Fonseca, who I quite like as an option. He's still only 20 as well, and he did really well in the B team, which is why he's found himself in the first team for this year. You can see he played 41 times in that B team last year, and when I was having a look at the attributes and looking at how much they developed, this guy looked like he's really kicked on, and I've given him that first team place, replacing almost Ignacio. Or I guess actually more specifically replacing Rafa Alvarez, who I've put back down to the B team, because I just think Fonseca might be that little bit better at the moment. Alvarez did have 3 seasons in the first team, but was never really a starter. 14 games, 7 games, 3 games. Obviously, just these are the players that I don't think are going to hit the real heights, but are really good squad options to have in there. So maybe moving them between the B team and the first team means that they get a season of playing full first team football, and then they might develop and kick on a bit, and you swap them out and just see which one is going to be the best for you. A similar boat really, I suppose, to Ilyas Hamoudi, who I don't think has the highest ceiling, and I think he may have reached that ceiling, and he reaches most ceilings because he is 6'6". I don't know if he could actually ever be a first team player, but he's a really, really solid B team player. 21 years old, Moroccan international, but he's been in this B team now for the past 2 seasons, and also is going to be in there for this year, and he's a really good look, 13 goals when they got themselves promoted from the Primera Federación Grupo 2. 15 assists in there too. Probably should have given him a shot in the first team. I just don't think, looking at his profile and looking at his current ability, potential ability, I don't think he's actually going to kick on that much from here. And this might be as good as it gets, but this is still good enough to be a really good option in our B, which I'm taking clearly quite seriously. Just to continue with the B team, because we are right here at the moment, I've decided to put Fran Millardo in there for this year. He's going to swap with Diaz, who we'll come on to in a second, but Millardo, who has been in the first team as well himself, is going to be one of the striker options alongside Barbosa. Barbosa as well. Lots of you were saying, I reckon he could be a real option for you, and I would like to hope so as well. He's still only 18, Uruguayan international. I think for this year, this is essentially a really good loan to a La Liga 2 team this season. We're going to see how he goes. He had a good season there before, scored 15 goals. I don't think there's a place for him in the first team squad with Cabrera, with J-Rod. And then if we need to, of course, we can play Alvarez through the middle as well. But if I was going to choose a loan for Barbosa, it'd probably be to a La Liga 2 team. So he's going to be there again this year. He's already got 1 and 2 down there. Maybe he could be an option for the future. I guess we'll see. And then I suppose the other player that has a bit of potential in this B team is Julian, who's our left wing wing-back option who probably falls third in line behind Tidiane C, Gabriel Torres, and then it's probably Julian who comes into that spot there. That is the B team. Then back to the first team, and my attack this season is going to be much of a muchness from last year with one slight little tweak. We're going to have Caballero on the left-hand side, a mainstay of the team. But now, after a really good development season last year, Gerardo Diaz is going to be our other left-sided striker option. He does still need to fully learn this role. He's more of a central striker, really, but I think the way that we play with the winger/strikers, this guy's going to play on the left-hand side. He is right-footed, but I kind of like that cutting in thing. Peruvian international. He had a great season last year in the B team, and this is where this model does work. He played in La Liga too, also got himself 15 goals, 11 assists in there, and I just think, looking at his profile, looking at his attributes, he's really kicked on. He's only 20. He's going to be the understudy to Caballero this year. The only worry that I sort of have here is that being the backup, is he going to play enough games to really kick on, and could he actually ever get to the heights of Caballero, or is he just going to be stuck behind him? But then again, Caballero is now 28, so maybe he is the natural successor in that position. Although, speaking of natural successors, we also now do have this guy Luis, who I really do think might be a special talent. That value already, look, 29 to 46 million pounds. He's 16, and I was thinking about what is the best way to get this guy to kick on. Is it to leave him in the youth team and to develop there, or is it to try and get him regular football? And I've decided to loan him. Now, you are able to loan 16-year-olds in Spain, and Real Murcia promised me that he's going to be a key player for them, or an important player, I think it was, for them. And I just think if he has a season playing regularly in what is the third tier of Spain, he could come back and be a real option either in the B team next year, or maybe even the first team, and try and bring him in the same way that we brought J-Rod in and a few other youngsters in, where games that don't matter as much, home games against teams that we're supposed to beat, just start him and just play him, because he could just be the future of the club. I really like what we're working with here. Hopefully this loan is successful. I will be watching. He can be recalled if he's not playing enough, so we will be doing that basically at the first option if it looks like he's not going to play regularly, but they did promise it, so I guess we'll see. That was the other thing as well, by the way. I didn't send him to one of our affiliate clubs. Ponferradina would be a good option for that, for example, because when you send them to an affiliate club, they actually don't have to play them, whereas if you send them out on loan where you've got an agreement about playing time, you can then put pressure on that manager and they actually do have to play them in the games. Not that they actually listen, but there is a slight different dynamic there, so that's why he's gone to Real Murcia rather than, say, Ponferradina. On the right-hand side, we will continue to use Alvarez from this role, rotating heavily with Jassy. The two of them, I don't know which one's better, to be honest. I really like Jassy. Jassy's numbers aren't ever brilliant, but then a lot of the time Alvarez's numbers aren't that brilliant. They're just two brilliant options on this right-hand side, and then alongside both of them, I am still trying to nurture Nicolas Hernandez, who I again think could be really good. Again, I'm going heavily off the idea that he's got really high value and he's only 17 years old, so I'm going to try and bring him in. I'd love him to get a bit quicker. I think that might hold him back. He's got great flair, great technique, which is lovely for a winger, but he's only got 11 acceleration, 11 pace, and I just feel like he should be quicker, but hopefully this is the year to give him enough game time to go and do that. He did play some games last year, 10 games all starts, and that was the exact type of games that I think maybe next year we could use Luis in on the other side, maybe thinking about the future there. But Hernandez is going to be third choice behind Jassy and Alvarez, and then up front I've put Cabrera as first choice on the squad here. I do wonder if this is the year that J-Rod overtakes him. This guy, he's going to the moon, I'm telling you. He's still only got 9 first touch. So the guy that said he's got a rubbish first touch, you are still technically correct at this stage. But I did say let's come back when he's 20. So another season, just think he could be so good. 15 finishing, 15 dribbling. Great determination, spirited personality. He's 6'2". He's got 16 acceleration, 13 pace, which is a weird little difference between the two there. But I wonder if that sort of, do they close that gap eventually? Hopefully as his pace increases, maybe. But he does have great agility and decent technique as well. Only 18. Heartbreakingly though, he's chosen Spain. He was Nicaraguan. It was so cool having a Nicaraguan, I was going to say international, but he wasn't an international. He didn't even play youth football for Nicaragua. I don't know if they play games in the save. They must do, I'm sure, but he didn't get called up. He's chosen Spain. Maybe that's an indication that he is going to be really good and he feels like he can play for the Spanish national team. But in the same way that Pedro Villegas did that, I wonder if he will end up switching back, like Villegas ended up switching back to be Venezuelan again. He's now got 30 caps for Venezuela at 27 years old. I wonder. One to keep an eye on, but I am a little bit gutted that he's chosen Spain at this stage, which is, I don't know, it's a shame. And that's it. That's the season 15 squad. There is a whole list of players that I have sent out on loan. Players such as Sans Onguene, Gandra, Sergei, Sergio, Granel Luis that we looked at, Boya, Vidal, Ricardo Dixon, or Dicko, as his mates call him, has gone to Valladolid alongside Roca as well, 2 of them going there. Castro, the goalkeeper, has gone to Belenenses in Portugal, and Daniel Araque has gone to Lugo back here in Spain. So a lot of players out on loan. We'll keep an eye on these guys. Hopefully they will do well there. It's these loans where I've weighed up where they're best going to get game time, basically, and not going to get in the way of other players who I've decided should be the first choices in either the B team or even in the under-19s. For example, we will keep an eye on them, and then if they're not playing, I always just recall them. Ricardo Dixon, though, is another one that I am quite excited for in this save. He's got 4 under-20 caps now for Australia. Hopefully, he can go and do the business in the lower leagues in Spain this year, and we can maybe use him in the future. We've got quite a lot of really good strikers. There's probably a few years where we weren't quite sure who was going to take over from Cabrera. Now it looks like they're queuing up to do so, which is never a bad thing. That's the squad it, though. This is where we stand, all the money. Hopefully that's a good update for you. It's the way that we have to start all these videos because I think it puts everything into context, hopefully. I'm now going to go and play and hopefully go and win La Liga this year because I really feel like we can. We have got off to a good start, by the way, too. I do usually play the first game. We have again done that. It was a pretty close game, actually, with a bit of a comeback to win it towards the end. Cabrera scored on 88. We went 1-0 up before going 2-1 down with just 20 minutes to play before Cabrera rescued a draw on 88. We went 1-0 up from Salas. That was a header from a corner before Lara scored twice for Cadiz. And with 20 minutes to go, it looked like we were going to lose this game. Cabrera rescued what we thought was going to be a draw on 88. Again, it was from a corner, headed in, and then on the rebound, he managed to slide it in there. And then Gerardo Diaz on 90+4, making an immediate impact now that he's a first team member. Here's Nicolas Hernandez, who had to play at left wing back at the end of this game, by the way. Diaz was in there to slot home. There was an offside shout, but he was there to win us the first game of the season and hopefully kick us on now to go and hopefully win this league. I really feel like we probably should and definitely can after where we finished second 2 years in a row. One last thing, I suppose, actually, that I did say I was going to show you and then didn't in the end. There are a load of loans out, as you saw, but there were also a couple of sales. Juan Jose, I sold for £9.5 million to Benfica. He's actually gone straight into their B team, but he is one that I actually thought could be a decent option in our midfield, but they offered us £9 million. There is, though, in that deal a 50% sell-on fee, which I tried to put in every deal, and also there is a buyback fee of about £19 million, I think it was. So if we wanted to buy him back, we could. Not that I think we will, but they put it in there. So I thought I might as well keep it in there. I also did sell Guillermo Costas, which, if you remember, is why Sione is now the backup right wing back in that first team squad. He's gone to Strasbourg for 775k. That goes down on the B team sales, but there we go. There's the rest of the sales from last year too. That then is hopefully everything up to date with season 15. I'm now going to actually go and play that season, as I said I was going to before. I'll see you on youth intake preview day at the end of December, where hopefully we're about 35 points clear in the league. That'd be nice, wouldn't it? I'll see you at the end of December. Oh, before I come back, quick one from me, by the way. A quick note to say, please subscribe to the channel. I'd really appreciate it if you did, and thank you so much for continuing to watch this series. Leave a like on the video. Oh, and also a reminder that La Cantera t-shirts and merch are now in the merch store, which you can find down below the video if you wanted to go and check it out. Some Huesca inspired little merch items which you can go and pick up for, I've put them on there at the prices that is the very, very cheapest that the site allows for, so that I don't actually make any money from them, but hopefully they're cool little pieces that I just love the idea that there's people rocking about in a La Cantera hat or a Luciano Sanchez t-shirt. I just love that as a thing. So if you want to go check those out, the links are all in, they're like showed underneath the video. I'll also make sure that there's a link in the description of the video. How's that? Now though, let's go to the halfway point of this season. And are we 30 million points clear at the top of La Liga? No, guess what? We're second. Again, guess who are top? Atletico Madrid. Please don't let it happen again. I'm not having a 4th season in a row where Atletico win the league, and I'm not having a 3rd season in a row where we finish second to them. We are 1 point behind the league leaders, Atletico, at the halfway point. 19 games played. We've won 13. They've won 14. We've drawn 3. They've drawn 3. We've drawn 5. We've only lost 1 game. And yet we aren't top of the league. Our goal difference is actually exactly the same. We have scored 2 less goals, but also conceded 2 less goals. It is a genuine title race, and we are 6 points clear of 3rd place Sociedad. Real Madrid, by the way, now managed by Glasner. I think I showed you that last time. But there was also a change at Barcelona, and this, I think, is a very progressive move from Barcelona. And I personally absolutely love this. If I was to say guess who the Barcelona manager was, I don't reckon you'd guess it in a pretty long time. And that's because Barcelona are now managed by Sonia Bonpastor. She was the Chelsea women's boss. I think she was at Lyon before that. And in the game, she's gone to AC Milan. I assume that's the men's team, AC Milan there. And then over to Barcelona, which I think is a really cool bit of career progression there. Something that we've never been able to see before in Football Manager. But there you go. Sonia Bonpastor, Barcelona manager. I mean, she's nothing compared to us because we are a lovely 7 points clear of Sonia's Barcelona after 19 games. Our one loss, by the way, guess it was 2. Of course it was. Atletico Madrid beat us 1-0. That was in the away game though, so we do get to play them at home, and maybe that could be the game that makes the difference. But I'll show you on the screen here. This is the form for this first half of the season. After that 3-2 win against Cadiz, it was wins against Almeria and Athletic Club, sandwiching a draw away at Valencia. Then came that loss to Atletico Madrid before we kicked off our Champions League phase. We won our first game against Leverkusen, 2 goals from J-Rod in that game before losing to Arsenal. I always think when you come up against a Premier League team in saves like this, it gives you a real indicator of actually how good you are, because if any league becomes a super league in Football Manager, it's the Premier League, isn't it? And yeah, Arsenal, who I think did win the Champions League fairly recently in the save, they won it before Atletico won it, and then Juventus actually won it last year. I don't think we've looked at that yet. Who did they beat in the final last year? Then they beat Leverkusen. We've just beaten Leverkusen and they got to the final last year. I say that playing teams like Arsenal is a bit of a marker, but actually we did just beat the runners-up from last season, so maybe that should be a marker. Can we win the Champions League this year? Do you reckon that is something that we could actually go and do? Because we are kicking it against these teams now. And I know that I am saying this off the back of showing you that we lost 5-2 to Arsenal, but then look at the form that followed. We beat Celta Vigo and Girona. We drew to Sociedad and Tenerife. This is probably the most disappointing league result, actually. It was a 2-2 draw at home to Tenerife. They equalised in the 90th minute from Jan Virgili after I thought we won that game. We did recover well, though. It was a win against Dortmund, a 4-1 win against Real Madrid. Nacho Caballero. They're getting a bit older, these players, but they're still doing stuff like this. A 4-1 win, a hat-trick from Caballero, an absolute annihilation of Real Madrid, Glasner's Real Madrid, and both Nachos on the score sheet, I think, is kind of somewhat poetic at this stage. We then back that up. Look at that. If anything shows that we can win the league this year, and listen, we might not because Atletico are Atletico, we beat both Clasico teams in the space of 4 days. A 4-1 win against Real Madrid and a 3-2 win against Barcelona. Cabrera with a 95th minute winner after they equalised in the 94th minute. Scenes at the Juanjo Camacho Park, who, by the way, I've still not been able to sign. He's not interested in joining Juanjo Camacho, which is a real shame, even though he was sort of interested at one point, and I said I'd come back to it at the end of the season, a couple of videos. He's now not interested, so we're not going to be able to get him, which means Jesus Navas continues as our head of youth development, and I think he's still doing a good job, so I'm going to say that. After beating both Clasico teams, we beat Sevilla, lost to Maribor. Now, I want to explain this one. Look at the team that I played. There was players like Jorge Carabali started this game, who's doing very well as the defensive midfielder in the B team this year, but he's still not quite ready for first team football. Antonio Romero started this game, again another player from the B team. Cruzado, the under-19s keeper, I think is maybe the keeper with the most potential other than Farmy, obviously. Look at his value, 25 to 30 million pounds. He's played this game. He played rubbish. He got a 6.2, but that's not the point really here. He played this game. Fonseca Rivera, by the way, he's the player that I didn't really know where to play him. I didn't know what he was going to be. We sort of, or at least I sort of decided, I think he's a left winger, but he also can't play left wing at this stage. But I think that's kind of what his profile should be. He's actually kicked on quite a lot and has massive value as well. Another one of these that I think in recent years, where we've improved our youth facilities, youth recruitment, I think we might be getting some serious monsters coming through that you don't quite realise are as good because the current ability isn't as good compared to the first team squad. So it kind of shifts the way that you see these youth players. But I do wonder if their potential abilities are super high because the values are there and they are really kicking on quite quickly. He's now 18. I think he could be a first team player at some point. I don't know where we fit him in because I've got a whole plan for the left wing with Caballero and then Diaz and then Luis, who's out on loan. Where does Rivera even fit in? I'm not sure, but he looks like he's a really good player. He wasn't good enough to win us a game against Maribor at home, but that doesn't hopefully matter too much because we should be fine in the Champions League, at least to go through to the playoff round, which is probably where we're going to end up. I'll show you that in a second. Then the results in the league: a win against Villarreal, a draw to Osasuna, and a win against Espanyol. A win away at Elche 4-1, which was a nice win here. Victor Fernandez scoring a penalty in that one before drawing to Liverpool at home. Again, mixing it with these super Premier League teams, going up against them and doing okay, except for that 5-2 loss to Arsenal, I suppose. We then beat Alaves and most recently a draw to Mallorca, who destroyed us at the end of last season to take that title away from us. I wanted to get revenge. We didn't quite. We got a draw away at Mallorca, which is better than the end of last season. And then we've just beaten Getafe 5-1. 2 for Cabrera and 2 from Nacho from right wing back. He's having his best goal scoring season for a while. In fact, it's his best goal scoring season ever with 3 goals. The best he got before in the league was 2 back in 2033-34. I think that really shows how far into this save we actually are now. We're heading into 2040. This is a proper long-term save at this stage. And honestly, the amount of hours I've invested into this, I hope you can tell just how into this save I am. I think this one it's really got its claws into me. I'm loving it. Nacho, though, at 29 years old. How many games has he played for us now? Because he is actually a one-club man. We never did send him on loan. He's hit 500. 501 league games for the club. I don't think it tells you even cup games, which is a kind of a shame because actually the number is way higher than 501. He might be up to something like 700 games at this stage, you'd imagine, right? But anyway, 501 league appearances, scored 10 goals. He's got 3 this year. Go on, Nacho, the main man at right wing back all this time. And that is the story of our season so far. It means that we're a point off the top in the league. It also does mean that in the Champions League we are down in 21st, but we should be fine to make sure we finish in this top 24. The teams below us are a bit scary. Juventus are holders, by the way. PSG and Liverpool. Our remaining league phase games, though, are pretty kind. We've got Copenhagen and Dynamo Kiev. I just need to remember to not rotate too much in those games, because if I do and we end up going out there, that would not be particularly good. Maybe it would allow us to concentrate on winning La Liga, but I think we can go quite far in both. I just wonder, we've had results against teams the year before that where we beat Milan 5-1 and beat Bayern Munich in that competition, shows me that when we get to those knockout games, especially those home ties, we could do something. We just unfortunately came up against Arne Slot's army last season in the round of 16. So hopefully that isn't the case this year. But let's go and see what we can do. First, though, because it is the end of December, our youth intake preview is indeed in our news inbox. Let's have a look then at what Jesus Navas has got for us, talking about the class of 2040. He says this is a terrific group of players coming through and has the potential to be a real golden generation for the club. Who would have thought it at this stage? Excellent intake again then. At least 3 positions that are A-rated. That is good news. How many then are going to actually make it? Is just 3 positions that are A-rated with our state-of-the-art training facilities and state-of-the-art youth facilities. Central midfielder, there is 1 of them. 1 of the wingers out of 3 look really good, and there is a striker that is also. Now, are we pretty well covered here? I think we kind of are. I guess another central midfielder. If they're a defensive midfielder, that might not be the worst thing. Having a look at the squad at the start of the season, we've got Villegas, we've still got Musa and G at the club. There isn't really a worldy youngster coming through. The best option that we've probably got is Karabali, who I showed you had played the first team game in the Champions League there. He's probably the best option to come through and play as number 6. He's a Colombian 16-year-old, really can tackle, quite tenacious, you'd probably think. Very good at teamwork, good natural fitness. Definitely not quite there yet, though. You just have to hope that he's got potential. He's probably our best option. Other than that, though, I don't think we're actually that well stocked as defensive midfielders. But then again, we play Villegas there, and he's not really an out-and-out defensive midfielder. It's kind of just using a central midfielder there. And obviously here, when I'm talking about this, we are talking about a central midfielder rather than a defensive midfielder, which there are none coming through this intake. But hopefully that's not too much of a problem. Hopefully this guy can play there. We will see. 1 winger, 1 striker then. Let's now go and actually find out who those guys are by going all the way through January, which could be massive, by the way. We do play in the Super Cup in January, and that is a chance at a little bit of silverware, which would be nice. We also finish off that Champions League phase, and then we've got games against Almeria, Cadiz, and Valencia and Athletic Club to play. Could sculpt our season before a massive February. We play Atletico at home, Barcelona away, Sociedad, who are good too, at home, and then Real Madrid before we get our youth intake. So I'm going to be back after this Sevilla game, and that really could be make or break for our season. We are right up there, only a point off. Atletico, they might fall away. Did they lose their last game? It actually looks like they may have done, which they lost it 5-1 to Barcelona. Are they starting to crumble? Sonia Bonpastor ball, everybody. A 5-1 win against Atletico, and maybe maybe this is where things start to change. Hopefully, when I come back at the end of March, start of April, hopefully this picture is a little bit different. Fingers crossed. If we keep our end of the deal up, maybe, just maybe, this is still going to be a title-winning campaign. Or we'll get Atletico again, which is probably, to be honest, the most likely case here. I'll see you, though, for our youth intake and meet the class of 24. And have a look at this. The date is the 29th of March, and the league table now looks a whole lot rosier. I theorised that it may have been the start of the downfall for Atletico Madrid, and oh my God, could I have foreseen it going as badly as this for them? Perhaps not. We are top of the league after 30 games. We are 8 games away from greatness, and I'm going to say it. I don't even think I can bottle it from here, although I've now said that and I'm now terrified about doing so. But we are 4 points clear of Sociedad in second, and we've got a game in hand over them. We are now 10 points clear of Atletico Madrid. We were a point behind them before that last set of games. I told you that January, February, and then March were going to be vital in this title race. And Atletico, well, they've sort of fell apart, is probably what you'd say. They have lost 3 of their last 5 games. They lost to Espanyol, to Alaves, to Mallorca. Our old friends Mallorca may be doing us a favour this time around. And we are now very much, well and truly, in the driving seat for this league title. I think this is going to be the year that we do it. If we bottle it from here, we've got the best goal difference. We've only lost 2 games. We lost another game. We lost to Real Madrid in the return game there. So after beating them earlier in the season, we did lose. I think that was in the away game at the Bernabeu. But what that does mean with only 2 defeats there is that if I go to Atletico's defeats here, we beat them 5-1. I think this is the time where we can confidently say that we are on top of this league and we're going to win La Liga. We beat them 5-1 back at the Juanjo Camacho Park. It was a rout from us. Cabrera, Sanchez, Cabrera, Alvarez, and then Jassy before their goal was a consolation right at the end. You see the team that was picked there. I think on paper, this is... That's the 11, isn't it? It's Farmi, Martinez, Salas. It's Villegas, Nacho, C. Sanchez, Viso, Cabrera, Caballero, and Alvarez. That is, I think, the first 11 that I had in my squad at the start of the season. And when it comes together and it works like this, 3 assists, by the way, from Nacho at right wing back. What a man this guy is. He's now the veteran. As can you call a 29-year-old a veteran? I guess you kind of can if they've played 512 games. I said it was his best goal scoring season. It's his best season in ages, actually. I suppose he's probably not going to beat this 11 assist season that he got in 37-38, but he's got 7 assists, 3 goals, 2 player of the matches, and a really strong average rating. I love to see it from Nacho, and this game on a slot could be in a bit of trouble, genuinely. Their form is absolutely horrendous. Look at this January, and that alone would have put us back in the driving seat because they lost to Celta Vigo and lost to Sociedad in this month, and then it got even worse in February where they lost to us 5-1, drew a game against Villarreal, and then lost to Espanyol. And then for us, on the other hand, it was a very, very different story. There was only 1 defeat in January or February. We lost to Copenhagen. Now, do you remember when I said I needed to make sure we played a team that won this game? I couldn't resist rotating a little bit, although I started most of them, but we did lose to Copenhagen in that group, that league phase penultimate game. I did go very strong, though, in the Kiev game. If you look at the 11 in this game, no chances were taken, and we did win this one at 4-0, and that was enough to put us into the playoff round, which I'll update you in a second on. But before that, January was not only successful in the league, where we won every game bar 2. We drew to Valencia and Bilbao. We also won the Supercopa. On the screen now, you can see the team celebrating after a 3-1 win against Real Madrid in the Supercopa final, and that was after beating Atletico 2-1 in the semi-final. So not only did we beat them 5-1 in the league, we got ourselves a 2-1 win in the Supercopa before a 3-1 win against Real Madrid at the Nuevo Mestalla. We did also progress through in the Copa del Rey. I'd love to win that this season. Imagine we could go and get ourselves a league and cup double, and then also maybe the Champions League. Who knows? Do you reckon we could go and do it? And I mean, it is possible because we are actually still in the Champions League. We lead La Liga. We're still in the Copa del Rey because we have just won in the semi-final then. It was Real Zaragoza. Zaragoza are old rivals. We beat them 3-2 away from home before beating them 2-1 back at home. We are through to the Copa del Rey final, and we are still in the Champions League because in the playoff round, we beat Milan. Now, if you remember, a couple of seasons back, we beat Milan 5-1 and then lost the second leg quite heavily. But this time, it was a 2-1 win in the first leg. Sanchez scored twice, and a 2-2 draw at the San Siro to see us through to the round of 16. In that round of 16, I'm very proud of what we managed to achieve here. It was a 1-1 draw against our next opponent's Manchester United. Now, this 1-1 draw, I talked about the home games being really important in the Champions League. We actually got a red card in our home tie here. After 20 minutes, Luciano Sanchez sent off. We still got out of there, though, with a 1-1 draw, which meant going into the second leg, going to Old Trafford, it was always going to be tricky, but we beat them 5-4. An absolute Champions League classic here, and a 5-4 win, 6-5 win on aggregate. By the way, the Manchester United manager is Tim Darby, who is a new gen coach who does look like he's pretty good, to be fair. But in this game, we took the lead through Viso before Kemp equalised in the second half. It was then a barnstormer of a second half. Caballero, Salas, Viso put us all the way in charge before they got 2 goals back from Borges and Ferro before Ng scored what became, I guess, the winner overall towards the end, even though they then reduced the deficit back to 1 again with Holzinger. Job done in the Champions League round of 16, and that means here we go heading into April. We're going to get our youth intake in a second. We've got a Champions League quarter-final tie, and we have drawn PSG, which is why I don't know. I don't think we're going to win this. PSG are just outrageous. We looked at, do you remember their goalie, how good he was? I mean, if I click on their team now, is he still there? It is still Vincent Kompany. I think that was the case beforehand. If I go to their squad, that's not the same goalie. That is a Brazilian who doesn't look as good. Is there another goalie that I'm missing? Maybe they sold him. I think the brilliant keeper may have been sold. I actually think he may have gone to Barcelona or Real Madrid. I seem to remember now, and I'm forgetting what his name is, that worldie keeper, I think he went to Real Madrid maybe. Let's go to sales. The biggest sales here, £29 million. They sold that Breyan, who I think we looked at before. He had the cornrows. He's a really good Spanish player. Yeah, I mean, look at him. He's outrageous at Milan. I don't see the keeper on the list there. If I go back a season, I'm sure they did at some point. £31 million for James and Joe. There was a £37 million the year before that sale for Gregory Terrelaz, who is a 6'7" brilliant centre-back. This is what we're up against. Remember when we looked through all those new gen players, and it just gives you context of what we're up against, I guess, in these competitions. I'm sure they sold that. Oh, right, they've sold a player there for. Right, I found him. Right, I have found him. This was the year back in 2036-37. They sold 2 players, PSG. One for £142 million to Chelsea, Matthias Samaniego, who, I mean, look at him. I mean, have a look at him. Uruguayan superstar. And this was him. Noureddin Amayouche has been the Real Madrid keeper since that point, and I just didn't recognise the name, I don't think. I knew that they'd sold him. They sold him for £117 million, and he's now at Real Madrid being their goalkeeper, which is, I mean, he's playing for a team that we've been finishing above, actually, all of these years. They bought him for 100 million and sold him for 117. I mean, the selection of new gen players in this save is just absolutely insane, and I think that actually underlines just how well we are doing. We are up against, though, PSG in the next round of the Champions League, and we have got just 8 games to go to finish off our season, and hopefully it should be routine at this stage. We play Osasuna at home, that should be a win. Espanyol away from home, we should be confident. Almeria away from home, we should be confident. Elche at home, we should be confident. And then Alaves Mallorca, now I'd never take this one for granted, I suppose. And then Getafe at the end. There are no big scary teams to play at the end of this season. It should be routine to go and make sure we win this La Liga title this year. And we also then have the quarterfinal of the Champions League and the Copa del Rey final, who is against, of course it is, it's against Arne Slot's Atletico Madrid. I'm just going to check. It is still Arne Slot, right? It is, yeah. Even though their form has been so bad, they haven't sacked him yet. I do wonder if he's going to be under a little bit of pressure, though, if they only end up finishing 4th after winning the league for 3 years in a row. Maybe that's harsh, but that's sort of the way that football goes, isn't it? Now, though, we're not back just to have a look at this glorious table. Maybe we need to take it all in now before I go and bottle it in the last few games. But this should be routine. We are, though, instead back because we do indeed have a new group of intake youth players. Let's meet the class of 2040. Jesus Navas, take it away. There are 2 elite prospects. Am I disappointed by only 2 elite prospects? Maybe I am. The very gifted Alex Martos, though, is the leading player in a group that has a real chance of becoming a golden generation. Let's have a look at them because maybe some of these top players might also be brilliant. 2 elite prospects then, Martos and Diego Roman are the best 2. There's then a goalie called Vito Gomez and Pedro Cintas, Reyes, Jose, and then some players that don't have as much potential good prospects down here. There is a Brazilian, there's a two Peruvians and a Portuguese player in there. That Portuguese player might be because of our links to Estrella de Amadoro. That is one of our affiliate clubs, but there's not a great selection of nations coming through in that intake, mainly Spanish. And actually, if I just update you on the affiliates, by the way, our link with Le Mans in France got cancelled and it didn't really say why. So I've since gone through. We've now got a link with BK Häcken in Sweden. We've also continued to have Ponferradina in Spain and Amadora in Portugal. But I've also added RKC Waalwijk in the Netherlands. Definitely saying that wrong, but I gave it a go. So just if you see any Dutch players coming through, that would probably be that reasoning. However, let's jump into these players. Let's have a look at our 2 elite prospects. Left winger and striker is actually a good thing because that is exactly what we use. And even Roman, 2 strikers basically then as the 2 elite prospects. It is an area I feel pretty well stocked in. Jose Rodriguez has very much taken over or taken up the mantle from Cabrera this year. He is the first choice striker these days. I will show you all of the stats of the players probably at the end of the season when hopefully we've won this league, but maybe a few more players next in line. We've got Dixon, we've got Barbosa. I feel like we are well stocked at striker, but there might be 2 more here. And I guess because we play with the winger strikers, you kind of need 6 anyway, even though I do think we are well stocked in all of those positions too. I think we might be getting to the point where we've got too many really good players. That's not a bad thing, is it? Let's have a look at Alex Martos to start with. He's 6'4". Okay. Forget what I just said. You can never be too well stocked. If you've got a massive striker with 17 jumping reach, and I've seen them grow so much. I don't remember. Was Cabrera 6'5" when he first came through? I think Romero, the centre-back as well, was 6'6", maybe 6'5", and he's now 6'7". They definitely grow more. At least it feels like it on FM26 anyway. This guy's pretty good to begin with, Martos. He's got good off the ball, good teamwork. His finishing is okay. Can play on the wing. Not great vision, not great stamina, but that's not a bad thing. He looks like he might be quite good. Let's do the test where we see what his potential might be by seeing what his minimum fee release would be. It's 108 million. That tells me that he's going to be quite good, I think. I think we might have another one straight off the conveyor belt of development here. Alex Martos, let me know what you think. I love the fact that he's 6'4". Good personality as well. Okay determination, that's not too great. Maybe that might make him a bit of a slower developer, but we will see. It's 10. It's not like it's terrible, but it's just not amazing. Martos is number 1 on the list, though. And then we've also got Diego Roman, who isn't as tall and isn't as good, you'd probably say. Great finishing, though, for him. Good off the ball as well. A little less oven ready, as we like to say, but a good option as well. He is only actually 15, so he might be as good as Martos when he turns 16, because sometimes that is the case, isn't it? He can actually play both sides, which is useful because we could probably fit him in where needed a little bit better than Martos, who can only play on the left-hand side. So that could be useful. He looks like he might be a bit of a Gerardo Diaz type player for us, who could go on to become a brilliant footballer, but would they ever go on to become a first-team, first-choice footballer? Maybe not, just because of the players that are sort of ahead of them. The pathway to the first team is quite a tricky one to route now. We've got so many good prospects that I'm really having to think about it in every single squad that we do. Next up, there's a keeper, though. Again, same for the keepers. I don't see any world where Vito Gomez can become the first choice, because we've got Farmi, even then Cruzado, but then even players like Jimenez and Varela below Farmi, a little bit older. I don't see a world where Gomez can even get there, but maybe we can try and develop him and maybe get some profit out of him, maybe. Next up, though, we have Pedro Cintas, who is another winger/striker. It's good that we are getting these players that play that role. He's got 20 determination, does Pedro Cintas. Looks pretty good. Good finishing, very aggressive, good determination with okay physicals to begin with. That's pretty nice to see. I guess we'll find out exactly what his potential is like. Again, we could do the test, couldn't we? And see if we approach to sign. I don't know how accurate this is. 12 million. That tells me that his potential isn't anywhere near the potential of a player like Alex Martos, even though on paper, if you were to compare them They'd be quite similar, really. And even though the potential ability here looks like it could be as good, the idea that he's only in the top prospects and not in the elite prospects probably gives you a bit of an idea. And then the other thing to look at, as somebody did say in the comments, is that once you've signed them, have a look at the values then. Obviously, there are other things that contribute to those transfer values, but I think it's a decent marker. We then do have a defensive midfielder, which is what we talked about before. This is one area in the first team squad that I think a player could get in. Model citizen Borja Reyes. That's interesting. He's probably worth keeping around just because of the personality. Great determination. If he does have anywhere near this potential, he could definitely be an option. What's his release fee? I'm going really far down this release fee now thing. £11 million. So probably similar to that of maybe a Cintas there, but one to keep an eye on as well. I like the look of him. It looks like he's got about the same amount of potential as Cintas, whereas maybe Gomez and then Jose, at least according to Jesus Navas, maybe has a little bit less. There's another striker here called Jose. Good finishing and first touch. Good flag, good determination, not great physicals yet, and is only an out-and-out striker, so you could only really use him as the central striker, or at least you'd have to retrain him, which is never the most ideal thing. He is still only 15 as well, which could mean that these physicals could improve too. Always nice to find a striker that's got 15 finishing. These guys are good. Generally, this intake, they look quite good, don't they? Let's whiz through these guys. I know that so many of you keep telling me that you can find really high potential players in the good prospects, the decent prospects, and even further down. They can get them wrong a little bit, the head of youth development here. I do definitely check though, don't worry. I'm always going with the coaches. I sign them up. I check through the values and all those other things. And also most of the time, if it's a position that we need them in, I'll keep them around. I do then go and sometimes check in on the players that end up getting released. And I don't think we've actually made that many mistakes so far, at least not ones that I've noticed. Would you think we have? I think we've been pretty good, that there's not loads that we've let go and gone, that was a mistake, especially with the ones that we release early. I think the hit rate's been quite good so far, if I do say so myself. We've got a great name here though. Wenceslao Gonzalez is a right wing back, another position that we might need to look at. Mark Paz is another defensive midfielder. Cannot tackle though, and he's a mercenary, which I guess isn't the worst thing though. Left-footed, maybe. I mean, the idea he can't tackle at all is a bit annoying. Antonio Gonzalez, left-footed centre-back. Francisco Pereira, another centre-back, right-footed that time. Fernando is a left mid. I hate the players that come through that is just... I'm just a left mid gaffer. Not a winger, really. Just a left mid. And I'm also unambitious. I don't think I'll be signing you, Fernando, if I'm honest with you. I don't know why I've called you out there, but I'm just saying it how it is. Daniel Reyes is another wide midfielder from Peru. And then we've got Leo, a centre-back from Brazil. It's quite nice when you get other nations, but he is 5'7", which means I'm not going to play him at centre-back. We have a left wing-back who's 6'3", Jose Carlos Cruz, and then a winger/striker in Piero Valencia, and a left-sided centre-back called Rafa Vina. These guys, I don't think they're going to make it. Let me now, though, go and get the main guys signed up, go and have a little bit of a look at all of these guys. But most importantly, I suppose, is try and finish off this season and try and get us this La Liga title. I'm going to go and play this PSG game. If we get through to the semi-finals of the Champions League, obviously, I'll be there with you guys. We'll play them as live comms. If we go out, I'll see you at the end of the season. If there is a title deciding game somewhere, I'm kind of hoping there isn't. I'm kind of hoping this becomes quite easy at this stage. But if there is a game that we have to win and it goes down to the wire like it did last year, we'll also do that as a live comm. Whatever happens now, I'll go and find out, and I'll be back to get you all caught up with season 15, which could be a historic season for us. I'll see you, I guess, when I see you. And welcome back to title winning SD Huesca. It only took 15 seasons, but finally we have done it. We have won the league. I think that is our record points total, but only just. We actually ended up drawing the last 3 games of the season because I rested and rotated, because we'd already tied up this league title a long time ago, and that's why we're just going to go through the results here. I'm going to show you the end of the season, but I'm going to rejoice in the fact that we are title winners. This squad here has got themselves 81 points, clear of Sociedad in second. And this squad here, I'm just going to go to quick pick and pick the best 11, I think, rather. Where this group of players have written themselves into the club's history forever. We are title winners, and it feels very much a relief to say so. After that ending of last video, we've done it. We've still got a season now to go and attack what I think is going to be a full-on launch attack at the Champions League next season. Look at the stats of the players in our title-winning campaign then. And one change that you may notice is that in this starting 11, J-Rod is indeed in there. He started 39 games over the course of the season and scored 22 goals. He is turning into, you can see by his profile, why he's the first choice now over Cabrera. And Cabrera, what an option to bring off the bench. Cabrera himself, I should mention, shout out to him because he will never die, will Rafa Cabrera. 21 starts, 22 sub-appearances, scored 15 goals this year. He is slightly unhappy because he's not playing at the moment, but that's all right. I'm sure he's going to be okay. We've just won the league. He does say he wants to leave for a new challenge, but I don't think I'm going to sell Rafa Cabrera. I don't think I can sell Rafa Cabrera. I thought it would be a travesty if I did that. But Caballero scoring 13 goals from the left-hand side with Pep Vizo scoring 17 from midfield. That's my boy right there. 9 goals in the league, but 17 in all comps. This guy, he is very, very good. He is a full Spain international with 16 caps now, is Pep Vizo. This is the team and the stats on the screen that you can see. You can see how many games were played. Victor Fernandez, by the way, I should probably say, did play a lovely 35 times, or 35 starts, 38 times in total this year, with 11 goals and 11 assists from midfield. Another one that is certainly kicking on to becoming a vital member of this squad. Vindicating, I think, my decision to sell Ignacio, as we saw before, in that midfield spot. But Sanchez also, I should say, definitely not second choice. There's so many games to go around. 40 starts for Sanchez with 14 off the bench as well for him. He's wanted by Juventus. They won the Champions League last year. Don't think they won it, although I don't think they're going to win it this year. The one area of this squad that I could maybe say is still maybe up for grabs, because look at the playtime of all the other positions here. You can see that there's very much a first choice established, even though we've managed to share around the midfield quite well, actually, if I do say so. It's this right wing, though. Alvarez started 21, came off the bench 24 times, 9 goals, 11 assists. Compare that to Jassy, who started 21 and came off the bench 29 times with 11 goals and 7 assists. And even Hernandez, who I've been trying to get that game time into, 22 starts for him over the course of the season with 3 goals from that right hand side. Is making waves, but not quite as quick as some of the other players. This, though, is where I now say SD Huesca are champions of Spain. We have done number 1 of my main ambitions for this save. It was to win La Liga and to outperform Real Madrid and Barcelona, who we've smashed, to be honest. Real Madrid are back on 74 points under the management of Oliver Glasner, and Barcelona, with Bon Pastor as the manager, down in 5th, and looks like they're going to be in the Europa League, although that might actually change, I suppose, because sometimes the 5th team gets in Champions League. Atletico, 4th, and the big news, and I wonder if they're going to be looking at Arne Slot in there. They did actually recover after their terrible form at Atletico. It looked like they might actually slide down further, but they had a good end of the season with some good wins towards the end. 9 losses for them. We only lost 3 games over the course of the season. It was that Atletico game, that Real Madrid game, and we also randomly lost to Almeria at some point in the season. But 23 wins from 38, 12 draws, 3 of them were the last 3 games of the season. If I show you the end of the season, it was a little bit crazy. We drew to Alaves, Mallorca and Getafe, but if I show you the teams that played, again, players like Jorge Carabali were in there, Sione started, Rafa Alvarez started in that game. I was rotating because I wanted to give game time to some of our younger players. Players like Romero played in the game after that, but even with the rotated teams, didn't lose the games because we're just that good. You may notice, though, on this fixtures screen here, there are a couple of interesting other points in there. The first of which is that we did go out to PSG. We really gave them a good game, though. A 3-1 win at home in the first leg. Jassy, Alvarez and G was not quite enough for the second leg, where we lost 5-2. It was super close in the Champions League. The Champions League this year, PSG have got to the final and will play Man City in that. We gave it a really good shot back in this quarterfinal. It ended up being 6-5 to PSG. I guess we were on the other end of a 6-5 in the end after beating Manchester United by that scoreline in the round before. But it was a good effort from us. And I think, again, it goes to show that we can compete. And if we had managed to pull through, we would have been in a semi-final. If we get to a semi-final, I think if any team that gets there can possibly, with a bit of luck, go on to win it. So who knows, next year, could we win the Champions League? Let me know in the comments right now if you believe right at this stage, and you can come back at the end of the video to find out if you were correct. But I'm going to go and do everything I can to go and do that, because this is a monumental season. SD Huesca are champions of Spain, but also cup champions as well. A 1-0 win against Atletico, our old friends. We have really turned around the narrative on them this season, haven't we? A 1-0 win thanks to this Victor Fernandez goal in the final of the Copa del Rey saw us lift the trophy, and it ends up being a domestic double for us, and a quarter-final in the Champions League where we went a decent way in that competition too. Definitely our most successful season so far, and definitely now, hopefully, the springboard to go and try and finish this season. I think we kind of have to because our players are all turning 30. See, Rafa Cabrera is 30 years old, and I'm a bit scared about that, but maybe it won't matter because we can go and win everything next year in season 16. I'm going to go and prepare for it now. I'm going to go and do my squad it, see where we stand, and I'll be back to bring you into all those plans as we go again to hopefully maybe finish off this save. That almost feels sad to say, but I don't think it's going to happen, but we're going to go and try. I'll see you for season 16. Okay then, season 16, and finally going into a season as champions. I actually can't quite believe that we've managed to win La Liga at long last, and with us now being champions, I have actually had a pretty interesting summer with the squad. This is the new first team squad. There is actually, the first team squad hasn't changed all that much, but if we were to look at the B team and the under-19s, there's quite a lot of sales actually. I'll show you that to begin with, I think, by going to the recruitment tab and showing you the finances, where we're now up to nearly £300 million in our balance, and our wage budget it's £1.1 million, and we've still got a transfer budget of £131 million. We're not doing too badly for cash at this stage. Can't spend it, of course, but I guess wages we could. But at the moment, I don't really need to. We've not actually, touch wood, we've not really lost a player throughout the entirety of this adventure so far. There's no times where the board have stepped in and sold a player over my head. There's no times where a release clause has actually caught us out. I have been very vigilant to not give players any release clauses, really, that I'd be upset if they got sold for that amount. And touch wood, and hopefully that shouldn't really change now. There's no reason why a player would want to leave Huesca at this stage. La Liga champions, we went quite far in the Champions League, and this year the plan is very much to try and go all the way in the Champions League. I am sort of bittersweetly thinking that the series might well end after this season. If we're as good as I think we are, and I really do think we are really good, I'll just go through, let's cherry pick a couple of players here to show you just how good I think we are. The goalkeeper, have a look at that for a goalie. 6'6", Moroccan legend North Alfahmi. Our centre-back, weirdly, doesn't get in the Spain squad all that often. He's got 11 caps and 2 goals, but doesn't get picked, which I just find completely bizarre. Look how good he is. There is nothing, even at 6 foot with 14 jumping reach, that is still passable. I don't know why he doesn't get in the Spain team. I look at their other defenders, which I won't look at right now, but they're not as good as Jonathan Martinez. But we've got him alongside Salas. Nacho still at right back with now his 13 leadership, by the way. Leadership courses, they really work. Even maybe 1 in 3, it comes back at the end of it and says that he found it useful. And then the other 2, it says he found it to little use or something like that as the message in the emails. But his leadership has gone up from like, what was it, like 4 to now 13. And that's crazy. That is our captain right there. We've got Viegas in the DM, still so good. Tidiane C, just an unbelievable left back these days. Pet Viso, the boy wonder in our midfield, still only 23, so should actually get better than this. He's got 18 balance, he's got 19 decisions, 17 technique, 17 passing, 16. I mean, so good. He can't tackle. To be fair to him, he can't tackle. He's got 6 tackling and 9 heading. But other than that, what a player. Luciano Sanchez still going strong, but if you wanted to take him out, you could put Victor Fernandez in there instead, who's getting better by the day. Carlos Alvarez as a right winger / striker, so good. But you've got Jassy as his backup in the squad there. Then you've got Jose Rodriguez, J-Rod, still coming through as our #1 striker. Still not as maybe good as he's going to be. I really hope he can improve from here. But at 19, with 16 finishing, 17 acceleration, 14 pace, 15 determination, 15 off the ball. He's got actually 15 leadership. I wonder if when Nacho retires, who's now 30, by the way. We've got players who are 30. I think Luciano Sanchez is our oldest player. I think we confirmed that, right? He's 30, turning 31 this. Like, we're going to have players at the start of season 17 that are 31. It is kind of time to pull this all together and try and make it happen this season, isn't it? However, I just wanted to go through those players. Caballero, just to finish off with the starting 11 there. That is a team that if I had that, if I bought these players, I think I'd be thinking we can win the Champions League if it was another save. So why shouldn't we be trying to win the Champions League this year? Am I just, because they're my players, am I over-egging them a little bit? But I think they're genuinely good enough. And then in reserve, there is so many good players now that if you go down this list, players that can easily come in. Rafa Cabrera, so proven to score goals. Gerardo Diaz not even being a starter for us because Caballero exists is just wild. He's only 21 as well. So maybe when Caballero gets a little bit older, I think Gerardo Diaz might take his place on the left wing. But that's even without thinking about Luis, who's back from his loan now, who I also think is going to be outrageous. He's 17. This is how good Luis is at 17 years old. I'm hoping, but I'm thinking that I was right when I thought he had super high potential because he's got the value and he's kicked on massively from that loan that we sent him on last season, where at Real Murcia, he did start 30 games in the lower league, scored 4 goals, got 1 assist, got a 6.78, which isn't really the thing we're looking for at this stage. It'd been great if he had performed even better than that, but the fact he's playing games regularly has really helped him to kick on a little bit, and hopefully now I've brought him back in to be the third choice left winger. Third choice ultimately means, though, that any game that I'm super confident of winning, or any cup game or any Champions League group game that I think we should win, I chuck in the third choice players, the young players, like Nicolas Hernandez, like Luis, like Antonio Diaz at right wing back, and it was J-Rod before now he's become the starters. So a lot of the time you'd actually prefer to be a third choice player in this squad rather than second choice, whereas the second choice player just comes in really if there's an injury, although I do try and rotate a lot or as much as possible for players that I do want to see make first team appearances. Players like Jassy, for example, is second choice technically, but he's not really second choice because he plays a load of games. Last year he played 33 times. Look, it's just that he doesn't start those games. He started 16 and came off the bench 17 times in the league. Now though, let me take you over to those sales that I discussed, and then we'll go through this squad and how it's going to work a little bit more. If I go to the transfer history, you may have noticed already some players that aren't there. This is a little bit convoluted because a lot of the sales go down as Huesca sales, and then a lot of them also go down as Huesca B team sales if they're in the B team when I sold them. I think all the money gets pulled into the same balance rather than the Huesca B balance, but I'm not 100% sure on this. We actually might have more money than I originally just showed you, because at this stage the B team might be really rich, and actually I think the B team probably makes more money because a lot of those players are still super young and can get sold for more because they're not backups as they are in the first team. For example, I did sell Francesco Sioni to Al Riyadh. He has gone for £4.7 million. Babacar Camara, he hung on for a long time, did Camara. He's now been sold to Lorient. And Francisco Gandra, this one maybe is a little bit more controversial, maybe. I think he's probably got quite a lot of potential, but I've sold him to Inter Milan, Blue Neri, as they are still randomly called in my game. Sometimes the name fixes work and sometimes they don't. Like, literally I could load up the game again and Inter would be correct, but then do it the next time and they're back to Blue Neri. It seems a little bit hit and miss, maybe to do with the updates, I'm not sure. Anyway, Gandra's gone for 2.2. There is a 50% sell-on fee for him. And ultimately, I just looked at which players were actually going to become hopefully first choice, and I just didn't think we needed Gandra as good as I think he might end up being. We'll see with that one. That one could be a regret, but we will see. There was also, before the tick over date, we did also sell the big one really for this summer. I sold Ivan Aguirre. Now that is actually 2 good left-sided centre-backs that have gone, but Aguirre's now 25 years old. He's gone to Al Khalij for £24.5 million, and that was just kind of silly money for a player that started 1 league game last season. The year before that he started 5. The year before that he started 3. The year before that was the one where he played 15, to be fair to him. But he's not really playing enough games to not justify me selling him for £24.5 million. So Aguirre has gone out, and then in the first team squad, this is where we'll come back to it because it kind of ties in. I've replaced him with the youngster Francisco, who I think shouldn't be too far away from being good enough to come in. And I mean, he's good enough to come in and play 3 games a season, which is ultimately what Ivan Aguirre was doing there. He's still the 4th choice centre-back, where if we get an injury to Martinez or to Salas, I'd probably bring in Antonio, and then Francisco's further down that pecking order, and we can give him some more game time and hopefully he kicks on. He played a lot of games for the B team last year, so he takes Aguirre's place. And what I'm really hoping is that players like Romero, who are in the B team, can actually step up quite soon and come in as well and be a competition for Francisco. That really was actually the only big change in the first team squad. The other one being that Antonio Diaz has been promoted to replace Sioni, who I sold, and Luis, as I showed you before, has come back from his loan and he's going to be that 3rd choice left winger. There have been some changes to the B team too. This is the last picked B B team squad that played the first game of the season. They played 2 games actually this season, so you can kind of see who's being picked here. But the keeper being Paul Varela and the centre-backs being Romero and Onguene now. Both of those I think I've got fairly high hopes for in the future. Romero especially, because he's 6'7", could be super effective if we can develop him a little bit, and hopefully playing games in the B team this year will help him with that. Julian as well as the left wing back, I think I've got a lot of hopes for too. And interestingly now, Christian Rivera, who I didn't know where to play him, what position he should be. He now seems to be starting as one of the attackers, the left winger, I think it is, in this B team. And I think that's kind of ultimately where I see him playing. So I do think a season for him could see him turn into a decent player too. He's also got under 21 caps that tells me that maybe he does have a bit of potential about. The reason I came to the B team though was to show you the sales here, because there are some big ones. And if you're very eagle-eyed, you may have noticed some omissions from that B team too. And that is because I have sold 4 players here. The big one is that for £26 million, I have sold Fran Millardo to Sporting in Portugal. He was a really good player. He is a really good player. And that's kind of reflected in the £26 million fee. He's got under 21 caps for Spain. He's 21 years old. He's only going to get better. But I just didn't really see where he was going to come into our team. Ultimately, it's about comparing to the other players. At left wing, we've got Caballero and Diaz, and then Luis coming through. Where were we going to fit Millardo into our plans? I just don't think he's going to be better than any of those players. So why not take the money when the money's probably at the most it can be? Whilst we're champions, whilst we are at the height of our reputation probably, and he's still 21 and with loads of room to grow, £26 million felt like a good fee for him. I've also sold our old favourite, Ot Granel, who has gone to Real Betis. A good fee for him, £9.5 million. And that is because he became a very decent player. His value is actually higher than that, and they've put him on £50,000 to £58,000 per week, which again shows that he is a very solid player. He's 25 now though. He's never going to play for us, so 9.5 for him. Vicente Ortiz has also gone to Lens for £4.1 million and Boya for £975,000. Before that, there was a few before the tick over as well. I also did sell, as well as Juan Jose, who went last season. I've sold Tiemoko Haidara for £1.3 million, Guilherme Costas, I think I showed you, and Anas Chawi for £15.75 million to Manchester City. Now, when a team like City comes in for your player, you are kind of wondering, is he going to be really good and am I going to regret this? I'm hoping not, because they've put him in their under 21s and he is 21 years old. Moroccan international. I'm hoping they've just seen value in £15.75 million and maybe they see him as a player to flip. He is really good. But again, where was he actually going to play? Is he going to come in and start on our right-hand side? I don't think so. Ahead of Alvarez, ahead of Jassy, ahead of Hernandez, who I'm trying to bring through as well. It's very similar to Millardo, I think, in just that I think it's probably just a good idea to take the money. If we'd held on maybe one more year, would we have got more than 15 million? Maybe. There is also a sell-on fee clause in his contract as well. So if City do sell him, or maybe in a year's time we sell that clause. In fact, that is something I'm going to have a look at, I think, and see whether there are any clauses that I can sell at this stage. But Anas Chawi has also departed, and all of that together means that the club as a whole looks like this squad heading into season number 16, where I think we need to go in at the bare minimum, retain our La Liga title. I would be disappointed if we didn't win the league this season. After finishing second where we should have won it, and after kind of romping home to victory last season, if we were to fall back and not win it this year, I think that would be a disappointment. I guess it is a worry because teams like Real Madrid and Barcelona are only going to get better again, because can they be as bad as they've been for the past couple of seasons? Probably not. But let's see. That would be the bare minimum. I really want to win the Champions League. I really think we can win the Champions League. And this is officially the start of our assault on winning that Champions League. I'm going to start to prioritise that competition, I think. Obviously try and balance giving game time to players and going through nice and easily in the group stage. But once it comes around to knockouts, I'm going to start resting players in the league and prioritising those Champions League knockout games in a way that PSG do, that's been so successful for them. And maybe we can do it this year. We have started the season. It was a 4-0 win against Girona at the start of the season. J-Rod got a brace, and then Salas and Sanchez with the other goals, all in the first half to win us this game. You see the starting lineup there. It is the one that I just showed you before. Completely dominant against this Girona team. 29 shots, 15 on target. I think that's a great way of showing just how good we now are, which is why I'm as confident as I am. Oh, by the way, we had 4 testimonials this year. I guess because it was, I don't know why actually, because it's not 10 seasons, is it? But we had testimonials for Sanchez, for Nacho, for Cabrera, and there was one other. It might have been Caballero, but Caballero came through a year later. But either way, we just randomly got the chance to do some testimonials. I wonder if I could actually, I might be able to, yeah, I can, oh yeah, there you go. It's Sanchez, Cabrera. It was, we had a testimonial for Pablo Andro, and he has played about 4 games in the entirety of this save, but it was Pablo Andro. Weirdly, is that because it's 15 years then after they came through, heading into season number 16? Is it 15 years for a testimonial on FM26? It might be, but we had them. We can also arrange one for Musa and G, so we need to do that at some point as well, because he's been a real asset for us over the years too. Now though, it's time to go and get started. I'm going to go and get us up to January, or the end of December actually. We'll get our youth intake preview, and when I come back, I'm hoping we're going to be about 35 points clear at the top of the league and already doing well in the Champions League, and everything is rosy. Let's go and find out if that's the case. Well, it's not quite the 35 points clear that I was hoping for, but it is indeed a lovely 8 points clear at the top then at around about the halfway stage. Now, Barcelona can close that gap by 3 points to just 5, so it is a closer title race, but we are doing very well. We've only lost 2 times then at around about the halfway stage, 18 games in. We've lost 2 games. That was 2 Barcelona 4-3 and 2 Valencia 2-1. We've drawn 3 Espanyol, Elche and Getafe. Most of these are away from home. We do definitely drop more points away from home, which I guess you'd expect, wouldn't you? 13 wins in there though, and some good ones too. We beat Atletico again. We beat Real Madrid 3-2 away from home in that game too. And therefore, there's not loads to report other than we're doing very well. We've scored the most goals. We've got the most possession with our tiki-taka style. And this squad here, if we go to the squad to begin with, is performing at a level that I'm very, very happy with. You can see by this last game, actually, just coming in, that Cabrera actually started up front in this game. He has started only 6 games, but 7 off the bench with 3 goals in there. Most of the time, it is J-Rod starting. J-Rod has got himself 15 starts with just 5 goals. So maybe that's something I'm looking to try and improve on. But I suppose we're actually just sharing around the goals. If you look at this first 11 for this particular game, everybody in it bar the keeper and Nacho have actually scored more than 1 goal even. I was going to say have scored a goal, but most of them, Viegas has got 2, Sia's got 3 from left back, Vizo's got 3, Jassi's got 6. Jassi's had a bit of a re-emergence this season. That's why he's started 10 and Alvarez has started just 1 more at 11, even though Alvarez was supposed to be the first choice this year. Jassi's proven to be a real goal scorer with 6 in those 10 starts and 7 assists, and I'm wondering, is there a bit of a changing of the guard here? Does Jassi replace Alvarez in that position? Again, I know that I'm probably not getting the best out of a player like Carlos Alvarez, and ultimately I think he's a victim of the system rather than anything else. I wonder if Jassi is just a little bit more suited to be this winger/striker profile that we need on these sides. And I guess this can happen in a save like this. I know loads of you were like, use Alvarez as a shadow striker. You should do this, you should do this. The problem with that is that means changing the system. And changing the system has us going away from something that has us doing this. We're top of the league by at least 5 points at the halfway stage. We won the league last year and we should have won it the year before that. So I don't really want to change the system. The gains you'd get from switching that roll up on the right hand side, it could be a positive, but at the very same time it could be a real negative and disrupt things too, and I don't think it's worth the risk. I think any gains would be negligible, and so I think actually it's just going to be the case that Alvarez will play a lot of games, and he is good when he plays. He just isn't quite as prolific as Jassi, and maybe we make Jassi the first choice at some stage. Maybe Jassi now is realising his potential a little bit. He's 23. I mean, look how good he is. He is a superb player. It is a bit of a shame to not have him in the first 11 anyway, probably. Anyway, despite all this, we are here actually on the 27th of December, not just to show you that we are top of the league, which is very good news, but also to show you that we've got our youth intake preview. Just whilst I'm here as well, by the way, I have managed to give Luis 9 starts this season so far, and hopefully that's helping him as well, although he does have down arrows and some up arrows at the moment, but I think he's coming along as a good footballer. Also, Hernandez has got 5 starts and Gerardo Diaz has got 7 starts with 14 appearances off the bench. He's actually wanted right now by Real Sociedad, but his value is 132 million to 148 million pounds. If we were to get a bid anywhere near that, I think we'd have to sell Gerardo Diaz because we've got Luis coming through anyway, but at the moment they've not made a bid and I don't want to upset him by speaking to his agent and offering him out or anything, but one to watch maybe for the future. Let's now though jump jump into our youth intake. Do you know what? Let's not actually. Let's now just update you on the Champions League, which is a competition I said I was going to prioritise. I haven't maybe done that so far. I've tried to use some of these games as rotation games. Here was the first game of the league phase. We played Copenhagen, and I'll just show you the 11. Musa and G started, Francisco started, Antonio Diaz was in there, Fonseca, Luis. But I think it's so easy to go through in the Champions League that it is kind of the only time that you can rotate. It was great when we were in the Conference League and I could rotate in every game and they'd still win. But it's a little bit more delicate doing that in the Champions League. But so far, so good-ish. We might have to play a playoff game, basically. I did go mainly strong against Juventus and lost 1-0. We did a bit of rotation against Leipzig and drew 1-1 before beating Dinamo Zagreb 5-3 with a rotated team with players like Luis starting this game. Before we then lost to Sporting and lost to PSG. We play, in the final couple of games, we played Dortmund and Legia Warsaw, and we do need to be a little bit careful because right now we are down in 23rd, right on the cusp of this playoff qualification. I think 2 wins would take us to 13 and maybe sneak us, probably not actually. We're a little bit off qualifying for the round of 16 straight away. We're going to have to play a playoff game, which I'm not too upset about. I think, again, it is trying to balance these things, and to try and finish in these positions, you have to be basically flawless so far. You've got Dortmund in 8th, who have lost 2 games, but look at the other teams. There is 1 loss for most of them, 0 losses for Leverkusen, and I think with some of the teams we've come up against PSG, for example, that's very difficult to do. So as long as we are through in the playoffs, I think I'd be okay with it. A win against Legia Warsaw probably confirms that, you'd say, and then hopefully we can get a result against Dortmund as well. But let's see. That's the Champions League update. Now, though, let's have a look at this youth intake preview, which says, Jesus Navas says, at youth level, this is an excellent intake. This is an excellent group of players coming through. That does not say Golden Generation, by the way. That just says excellent. That's 4.5 stars, not 5. Oh, and by the way, our youth and training facilities both got degraded down to superb at, I think it was during last season or at the end of last season. This sometimes happens with the development of modern technology or something like that. It says as things develop, you have to try and keep up with that, don't you? And keep improving your facilities. So you sometimes get downgraded. We went from state of the art in both down to superb in both, which maybe that's why this intake preview is not quite 5 stars. But then maybe that's not true, because before this I did manage to get the board to improve our youth facilities back up to state of the art. That got completed recently, and the training facilities, they are working on that right at this moment too, so they will be back up to state of the art very soon as well, so no worries there. Now those looking at this preview, we've got 1 decent winger, 1 striker who could be a fine prospect, and then every other position is B or lower, according to Jesus Navas, which is maybe not quite as good as usual. Oh, and by the way, just to update you on the B team, they're actually smashing it this season. They are 4th in La Liga 2. They are pushing for what would be promotion, but as you see by there not being a little line here, they obviously can't get promoted. But they are actually right up there towards the top of La Liga 2 and performing very admirably. If I'll show you some of the stats of the players, Christian Rivera's played 20, scored 7 goals, 12 goals from Pablo Barbosa. I should probably give him a chance in the first team. I don't know why. I've kind of like decided that he doesn't have good potential. I think it's his value, but maybe I'm just completely wrong. He looks really good. He's 6'4", got good pace acceleration, good finishing. Maybe he's just not quite the level of somebody like a J-Rod, but maybe I'm being so harsh. He's scored goals every year in this B team, and he probably deserves at least an appearance in the first team. I don't think I've given him an appearance so far, even in a cup, have I? I think this is, yeah, he's still waiting to actually feature in the first team squad, and maybe actually he deserves it at this stage. Uruguayan international, as I think I've shown you before. Anyway, that's the B team. They're doing very well. We are doing very well as well. We are top of the league. We're still okay in the Champions League. We're still in all of the cups, I believe, because we've got the Super Cup coming up now. We play Real Madrid in the semi, and then it's probably Barcelona Atletico or Barcelona Sociedad in the other semi-final. In that one, in fact, I can actually show you. It's Atletico against Sociedad, so it's not Barcelona at all. Hopefully another bit of silverware there. And the Copa del Rey actually kicks off. We play Racing de Santander in the 3rd round coming up soon. So that is a full update of this season. We've obviously also got January coming up, and a few players are wanted, so maybe some transfers there. Let's see. Now though, let's continue with this great glorious season where we're going to win La Liga again, and we're going to win the Champions League, and I'll see you when we get the class of 41 coming through. Do we need more great young players? Probably not, but it's nice to get them anyway. I'll see you for the intake. And welcome back then. Welcome to the end of March, where things are still going pretty well, actually. Although the gap at the top now in the table is just 1 point, but don't panic because we do have 3 games in hand. I don't quite know what's gone on with the scheduling here in La Liga this year, but Barcelona have played 31. We've only played 28. We have won the same amount of games as them in that time. We have 64 points. If we win our games in hand, all 3 of them, we would be 10 points clear at the top of the table with, what, 7 games to go? So I'm feeling pretty confident we can win this. But it is always nice to have the points on the board rather than waiting on games in hand. We did actually lose our last game as well. We lost to Atletico Madrid, which, again, we've had this before where you see one result when we come back at one of these stages and then it starts to slide. I really, really hope that that isn't going to be the case. But the interesting thing when I show you these fixtures isn't just that we lost to Atletico, but it is instead that recently we did win in the round of 16 in the Champions League. Let me update you with the season first, then we'll get into this youth intake for season or the class of 41. But we did get through in the Champions League. Let's go back to that league phase to show you. We ended up finishing 16th in that league phase. Remember, we were struggling down in 23rd at the last point. We ended up finishing on 13 points, nice and comfortably going through to the playoff round. We actually did win both games as well. We beat Dortmund 2-0 away from home, Nacho and Alvarez with the goals, and Legia Warsaw was also a 2-0 win away from home. Even though Gerardo Diaz did get sent off, it was Rivera and Fernandez. I rotated heavily because at this stage, because it was the last game, we had actually already qualified. So we went with a completely changed team. Romero started in there, Rivera coming in, Luis starting too. We still got the job done with a 2-0 win, and that took us through to the knockout playoff round where we came up against Nice, where we won the second leg 2-0 to give us a 6-5 aggregate win. We actually made this one a little bit tricky, having to win our second leg back at home. Cabrera and Sanchez scored the goals, but the first leg away from home, we actually lost 5-4. It was a crazy game of football. Goals from Martinez Villegas, Luis, who did start, and Nacho Caballero. I said that I was going to prioritise the competition. I can't help myself. I still want to give game time to players like Luis because I just know how much game time will affect him and will help him to grow into the player that I know he can be. Look at the development of him. He has played now 17 games in all competitions, 9 in the league, 3 in the cup, 5 in Europe, and he's doing very well. He's definitely developing, but maybe now I need to lock in a little bit because that was a bit of a scare against Nice. But we did manage to get through, and that took us through to the round of 16, where, as I showed you before, we came up against Benfica and managed to get the job done here. A 2-0 win in the first leg, 2 goals from J-Rod to seal a strong home win in the first leg, which we followed up with a 2-1 loss in the away leg, but it was never really in doubt. Their second goal came in the 92nd minute, and by that point, they needed 2, so we were kind of comfortable going through after Cabrera equalised on 78. Cabrera coming back into the team, I did have to promise him some game time. He's obviously used to playing a lot of football for us, and you know, he's a club legend and he's on 100,000 a week, so he doesn't quite love it when he's not playing every game. So I kind of quite often have to promise him to play games, and then we play him in a few games and then he's happy again, and then after not playing him for a while, he's like, can I play some more games? And I'm like, yep. So we go through this cycle quite a lot. He has played 16 league appearances this year, and overall, including substitute appearances, he has played 28 games this season, so it's not too bad. He's only got 3 league goals though, which is a real regression. It's a shame. Do you remember this season, by the way? I think that season will go down as an all-timer. That season where he shouldn't have been starting as many games as he was, but he just came in and scored 25 in 27 starts. What a season. This year he's got 3, which is probably expected. He's now 31, by the way. Our players are getting old. Our youth players are they're over the hill. They're regressing. They're getting worse. This is, I mean, it's a terrifying prospect, isn't it? If we don't win the Champions League this year, which, by the way, I should go back and show you, we've got Bayern Munich in the next round. The quarterfinals comes after playing Atletico and losing. We play Barcelona at home, and then we play Bayern, even with Sevilla in between, which is no easy game, especially away from home. Then Bayern Munich, and then Villarreal, who are a good team too. This is a bit of a horror run. And if we go out here, and then our players will be 32 by the time we get to this stage next year. Are we missing the boat? Am I panicking? Am I scared? Maybe a little bit, because at 32 on FM, these players, they do get worse, and some players do fall off a bit of a cliff. I don't think we've seen that so far. If I look at my older players like Nacho, I don't think we're seeing any type of regression in terms of his ability in any way. I don't think. He seems to still be growing, if anything. Caballero is now 30, does have down arrows, but I don't think he's actually got any worse. Luciano Sanchez as well. I think we're okay at this stage, but when do you start to see that? Who's done a save like this and you start to notice that players are actually going backwards a little bit? You'll have to let me know. That, though, just shows how important this Champions League run this season actually is. If we can get through Bayern, that would set up a semi-final, and I think if we do get through, I think we'd have to start playing those games as live comms. So when we come back after this little section here, if we're in the semi-finals, I think we'll come back and play that together. Hopefully by that point as well. When will that be? Will that be into May? It's probably at the end of April, right? When you start playing those. When does the Champions League semi-finals usually get scheduled? I guess we can look at last. No, we can't because we didn't get there last year, did we? Maybe we will be back for those semi-finals, and hopefully we would have won the league by then if we played enough games. If we caught up on games in hand, maybe. Either way, we'll be back for the semi-finals to play them and hopefully be celebrating another title win. One thing we won't be celebrating, though, is another Super Copa win, and that's because we did lose to Atletico Madrid in the final of that one this year. It was a 4-2 defeat after we actually beat Real Madrid on penalties in the round before that. To get through to another final this year, though, we got Atletico again. Atletico, who are now managed, by the way, by Alberto Patrizi. Last season, at the end of last year, they did sack Arne Slot, which feels really harsh. But then again, we did touch upon it and wondered whether they would, because they were so used to winning everything, really. They sacked him, look, on the 22nd of May last summer and replaced him with this new-gen Italian who looks like he's quite good, to be fair to him. Oh, and speaking of new-gen managers, we had a bit of a thing happen with the B team. David de Dios, David of God, as you told me his name mean, actually got poached from the B team to become the manager of Finland, which is a slightly strange one. So I've had to appoint a new B team manager, and that is Adrian Moreno, who, to be honest, is a brilliant young coach. He is unambitious, which is the only thing that really lets him down, but he's 46, new gen, and he looks outrageously good. He plays tiki-taka and plays 4-3-3, which is why I really wanted to get him in. Hopefully he can come in and pick up where David de Dios left off. But I did have to make a change there, and they have fallen off a little bit in La Liga 2, the B team as well. They were 4th, weren't they, in the league, and now they're down to 9th on 45 points. I mean, that's still brilliant, and that is absolutely fine, but I suppose that's maybe a consequence of losing the manager there. Let's have a look at that intake then for 2041. But before we do that, let me just show you the squad in terms of some of the stats in here, just so that you can get a bit of a picture on how people are performing this year. One of our star performers once again is Pep Viso in the midfield. He's got 12 assists, 7 goals from in there. Our top goal scorer is J-Rod with 13 now. That did kick on. He didn't have loads before. It is again, though, a season where we are sharing out the goals. There's 10 for Jassy, 9 for Caballero, 9 goals from midfield for Victor Fernandez. I really think he's kicked on this year. In fact, look at that for growth for him. Definitely becoming the player that will ultimately, I think, take Sanchez's place in our midfield, you'd probably say, because Sanchez is now 31. And actually, he might be my favourite player in this save, but he was always a little bit more limited in terms of ability than some of our other players. Compare him to Viso, for example, and it's quite clear which is the better player there. Viso now, by the way, 160,000 per week. I think he's our highest earner. It was him or Caballero was up there at one point. Caballero's on 130k a week, but Viso's on 160, and he does deserve it. And actually, we can afford it because we've still got about £300 million in our bank account, which is always very nice. Let's dive into this intake that apparently wasn't a golden generation. Has it changed to a golden generation, Jesus Navas? It has, I think. It says has a real chance of developing into a golden generation for the club. So that's promising. There are 2 elite prospects, and it mentions on here Valentino Aguerto has as the leading light, the very gifted Valentino Aguerto. Then let's see where these players play, and I have actually gone through and given these guys faces as well without really looking at their profiles too much. We've got 2 elite prospects then. Lassine Traore is a central midfielder. I do think that is maybe a position we do need to try and get a few more players in. Just going through my squad, especially defensive midfielders, which I don't think this guy is, but that was maybe the position that we were lacking. In fact, I'm pretty sure Lassine Traore is not going to be a defensive midfielder, going by the fact he can also play striker. But let's have a look at Lassine Traore then, coming in great pace for a centre mid. Maybe naturally, well, actually it puts his position on the number 10 spot, but actually he's natural in central midfielder, but he's definitely more attacking. He's got 4 tackling. He's only got 8 passing, 8 vision, but he is only 15 years old, of course, and maybe he's got this super potential in there. Let's do the test. Let's see how much of a release clause he would like in his contract. only 14 million. So maybe not quite as highly rated or with as much of potential as some of the other players that we've had come through previously, but definitely one to watch in there. We'll sign him up, of course. I'll probably go through and sign up all the elite prospects, all the top prospects, and then probably just have a think about these good prospects. Probably sign them, to be honest, but we will see. Let's move through to the guy that was listed as the main prospect here then, Valentino Agurto, who is a striker from Peru. Now, there's a lot to like about that, I think. 5'10", good finishing, dribbling, anticipation, off the ball, very nice technique. Not the fastest yet. Good personality, very good determination. 19 determination, 16 flair is good fun. He is only 15 as well, so you'd actually imagine that sometimes you get these 16-year-olds through and the 15-year-olds through, and you look at the 15-year-olds and they don't look as good, but of course they're about a year behind some of these other peers that are in the intake. So he could be superb. That is a good starting point for a new gen, isn't it? Do we need a new striker to come through? Probably not. We've got J-Rod, we've got Barbosa in the B team, and then of course in the under-19s we did have a couple of really interesting options come through last year. I have actually given one of them, Alex Martos, a first team appearance. He played in the cup. He's still in our under-19s, but he is looking like he could be a real prospect. 31 million to 38 million pound value for Martos. And then the other one was Roman. Did I give him a game as well? I feel like I might have done, you know. I did. He came off the bench in the cup as well, did Diego Roman. So both of these guys, I mean, do we need a player like Agurto to come through when we've got these guys coming through as well? Probably not, but it's always nice, isn't it? Especially if we don't win the Champions League in, say, the next 2 seasons after this. Is that where I draw the line? Do we give this one more video where I play it through in the same way as this, and then if I fail in the next 2 years, that would take players like Nacho and Cabrera and Sanchez to 33, maybe 2 more videos, and then they'd be 35. I think I do like that idea of giving them their full career, and then when they retire, maybe calling it there. I know that loads of you will be like, never stop. I get it. I do get it. I kind of don't want to stop. And I will say, if we do end up doing that, I will go through and play this save until I've played it all the way through. I don't want to stop. I'd love actually the freedom to just play this completely in my spare time without even having to record bits and pieces from it, because it's so much fun to play. But I think what I would do is I play through until we were able to win Champions League, maybe go another 20 or so seasons, and then do another video at that stage where I'd be able to come through and tell you the entire story, like tell you what actually became of all of these players, so that none of the players you'd see in the squad are ones that you recognize, because we'd have completed the story, if you like, and we would do a video like that maybe. Let me know what you think, as per usual. Now though, let's just finish off going through these youth players, which may or may not end up being important in this story. I'm kind of thinking that, will we ever actually see these guys reach the first team? Unless it's in one of those videos later down the line. I'm not sure, but let's see. We've got Angel Perdomo as an attacking midfielder, fairly ambitious, looks like a decent prospect. Alberto, who can play centre mid, right wing or striker. Which one actually would he be from these? Maybe a right winger, potentially. He's got great acceleration, but then less pace. He can't tackle, he can't pass, and he can't really see yet, and he can't really dribble. So I don't know what you are, Alberto, to be honest. Maybe we need to see what you look like when you're 17, 18 rather than 16. Roberto Sammartino is an Italian defensive midfielder, temperamental, doesn't look like he's got as much potential, but we will see. And then there are a whole host of good prospects. Mavial Sadovnik is a right back / right midfielder, but not a right wing back. Model citizen though means that we probably sign him up anyway. And look at that picture. He is like, he's like a Roman emperor in that photo there. He is Colombian though, only 15, doesn't look 15 in that photo, does he? Does Mavial. There's then Gelson Paula, Jesus Rabadan, Bolivar Klinger, which is a fantastic name, centre back. Lucas Cordoba is an Argentinian left back. Mario is a right midfielder from Spain, unambitious. Miguel Lanza is an attacking midfielder, also Spanish, and also low determination. And then finally for the good prospect, Adrian Dominguez, again, not massively hopeful that he's going to make it, and even less hopeful that these guys are going to make it. There's Andriy Kovalyov, who is a Ukrainian goalie, who I actually think I might need to sign, just because we have had serious issues in the goalkeeping positions this year. There have been injuries galore, and then there's been international duties and all sorts. I've had to play all of our goalies this year. Pablo Andro Our blind goalie has had to play genuine first team games this season. I need to show you that because it's been a bit of a nightmare, and I'm really quite proud with how the squad has managed to cope with it, really. But I think even though he's not very good, I might actually have to sign Andrei Kovalyov just to make sure we've got numbers in there, basically. Finally, though, just to show you everybody, Rafa is a 6'5" centre-back, and Borja Rubio is a left winger who's tiny, 5'2" for him. That's our intake. Let me just go to this first team squad to show you just how many different goalies have had to play this year. Nath Al-Fahmy, in fact, let's put all of them in and put the goalies in there too. Nath Al-Fahmy, if you compare that to other players, Nath Al-Fahmy's played 26 times this year, so he's obviously first choice. But if you compare that to other, say, defenders, there's players on 34, 36, 38 games. So it shows you that he's missed about 12 games or more through injuries, and he's now on international duty, by the way, but it shows you that he's missed about 12 games or more through injuries. And we've got Pablo Anjo has played 2 first team games this year, even though he's so bad. So bad with his one vision, but he's had to play first team games, and we've actually done okay, I think, in those games. We've got 6 games from Jimenez, we've got 9 games from Paul Varela, who I then promoted to the first team to come in and play instead of Fahmy, but now he's not registered because I didn't realise that I had to register him because he was allowed to play and then he wasn't allowed to play outside the transfer window. So that's been a bit of a nightmare. That now means that we've got a B team goalkeeper missing. But I have had to play all of these keepers. Paul Varela played 2 games in the first team. Obviously, these numbers here also include B team appearances, so ignore the numbers slightly. But Jimenez played 3 games in the first team this year. 2 from Varela. Jose Angel, I don't think has had to play yet, but he's not been far away. And Gabriel Arnaiz has actually played first team football. 3 games from Arnaiz in there as well. Got 2 clean sheets and did very well, actually, for a player that is like a backup goalie in the B team. Fair play to the lads. They've dug in and done all right for us this year, but it hasn't been ideal. And to be honest, that's probably been the main problem that we've had this season. Otherwise, it's been pretty much plain sailing. Now, though, it's very serious. We now need to go and play Barcelona, followed by Bayern Munich home and away, to potentially and hopefully reach the Champions League semi-final. If we do get through to the semi-final, I will be back with you to play it together and maybe crown a glorious end to this series. Tell you what though, if we do end up winning the Champions League this year, I'll still do that extra video like 10, 20 years into the future, because I feel like that's a good way to do it. We also, by the way, lots of you asking, we'll probably do a video where we dive into the save and have a look at players' current abilities, potential abilities, and see if we can dive in and answer questions that you guys have about the save too, and do like a follow-up video like we did with Catanzaro, maybe a stream instead as well, but we will see. Either way, we'll make those plans when it gets to it. I don't know if we're going to win the Champions League. Who else is still in the Champions League? We've got City, Atletico. Oh my God, Atletico are still in it. We know what's going to happen, don't we? Bayern Munich, we play Porto, PSG, Arsenal, Liverpool. That's very difficult. We probably don't win it this year, but we're going to give it a good go. I'll see you either at the end of the season if we've crashed out to Bayern, or for the semi-finals if we're still in. I'll see you hopefully for those semi-finals. Right, so I'm back. And on the screen, you can see the result of the first leg of the Champions League semi-final. That is right, we made it to the Champions League semi-final. I've actually played one of the legs because I expected us to get battered in this game. I looked at this Man City team and I was like, do you know what? I'm going to play the first leg, and if we're like 3-0 down, we're just going to go out and then I'll go through to the end of the season. We actually managed to scrape a draw in this game, and so I'm back now to play the second leg with you. This is the situation. We got through and out of this game at the City Manchester Etihad Stadium, if you like, thanks to a goal from Cabrera to equalise. You know what? Let's have a look at the goal. To make it 1-1, we take a 1-1 draw back to the Wanyo Camacho with a chance at making the Champions League final here. It was a bit of play down the right-hand side. Villegas into Viso across to Cabrera. That goal there, it could be so vital. It could mean that our dreams come true right now. I'm so scared because it might be... Do you know when you get close to something that you really want to achieve and then you get worried that you're going to miss out on it and then that might be it? That's how I feel right now, because we are in a Champions League semi-final in a really strong position with a home game yet to play. Man City have to come to us. Now, they're ridiculously good. The reason that I didn't play that first game with you guys is because if you look at this squad, they're just outrageously strong. It's an entire team of new gens now, as you would expect in 2041, and they are just so good. If I just add in here, maybe something like general, let's put in transfer value in here, just to show you some of the values of some of the players. Paulo Fernandes is what we're up against, who plays left wing for them. Luigi Polini is a wing back for them. Jorge Hara is a centre back for them, who's got 108 caps for Chile. I mean, yeah, this is what we're up against. We thought our new gens were good. You know, when I went through and said, I think we can win the Champions League with these, you then go through another team that are towards the top and you're like, yeah, maybe we won't, because they are really, really good. We are, though, in with a shout. We're going to go and play it together now. I should, though, of course, tell you how the quarterfinals went. And these were the results. It was a 1-0 late show in the first leg against Bayern Munich. It was a Gerardo Diaz goal on 92 before a 3-2 win away from home. They scored earlier. They actually went 2-1 up in the tie after 20 minutes here, after Danilo Dung scored for them. But we came back with a goal from Alvarez, a goal from Sanchez, and then Pep Viso made sure at the end to make the overall score 4-2 on aggregate. Overall, it felt quite comfortable, but it was touch and go for quite a while in this one. And it means, with these results in the bag, after that Atletico loss that I showed you last time, we drew to Barcelona, we beat Sevilla, we drew again to Tenerife there, but beat Las Palmas. It means there was a good win there against Sociedad too. It means that La Liga, we are, I think, one game away from sealing the title here. Maybe it'd be cool to maybe try and show you the trophy lift in that one, try and play it so that I can at least record it. Last year we didn't get a trophy lift. We finally won La Liga after 15 years, but we didn't get a trophy lift because the game just didn't show us one. I guess it's because we were away from home when we won it, and then if you win it early, it just doesn't give you one. I sat through each game to try and get the trophy lift, and we just didn't get one. So hopefully this year we can. I think one more win would put us 10 points clear, and there's only 9 points up for grabs. So we are that close to winning this league. Surely, I mean, one win out of the last 4 games is enough. And we play Valencia, Celta Vigo, Athletic Club, and Las Palmas. I mean, Las Palmas at home should be a guaranteed win, you would hope. So we're pretty much guaranteed to win the league again this year. But we now need to go and play Manchester City. Semi-final second leg. Let's put together a team. Let's go and do this. Let's go and see what we can do here. Let's go with then Farmi in goal, Martinez, Salas, Nacho, and C as the back 4/5. Viegas, Viso, Sanchez. The question here is, do we go Sanchez or do we go Victor Fernandez? Victor Fernandez average rating is, I mean, they're very, very similar. I think I'm going to go with Sanchez, who is the more experienced. And I do wonder actually how much that would come into it. The mentals that come with a player that is, you know, Sanchez is what, 31 years old now. I think that's what we do with Fernandez as the backup in there. The other big question, Alvarez has now played 25 games. Jassy is slightly injured, which is why we will go with Alvarez. That is the main question really, who starts there. But there is a bit of a conversation about, should Caballero start or should this absolute demon start on the left wing, Gerardo Diaz? I think we just go, though, with our boy, which is going to be Caballero on there. One other little note, by the way, I sold Musa and G in January. I didn't tell you about that, but I feel like that is something we do need to talk about because he has been such a big part of this save over the years, and selling him this January didn't really feel all that nice, but he really wanted to go, and we got 15 million for him. I think it's a really good price for a player that was never a starter since like the first season, or maybe it was a few seasons in. He started 36 this season, so yeah, maybe that's harsh. Since 2034 though, he hasn't been a starter, and still getting 15 million for him, I think is really quite nice. It does maybe leave us a little bit lacking in the defensive midfield spots, and that is the position I think we do have the least players in. However, I think we'll probably be okay. We can always use Sanchez deeper and just start Fernandez, which is something I've done quite a lot this year. The other move that I did make in January as well was to loan out Nicolas Hernandez. He's gone to one of our affiliate clubs, BK Hacken, where I'm hoping he gets regular game time to hopefully kick him on a little bit more. And he has played 6 league games, 5 cup games already in that time there too. So hopefully that will help him. But now, let's go back to this squad. I think we're going to go like this. No other changes. We will have, I can put Varela on the bench, but I think Jimenez is better. That is actually exactly how we go. We'll put Jassy on the bench because he's back in 2 days and he could be useful. I guess we get into this game. Tidian C is not fully fit. He's going to have to play that. I guess, do we make any changes of these guys who are tired? No, they're so important. Let's just go and play this game. Man City at home. Can you believe it? For a place in the Champions League final. Up against, I think it's, I need to check it actually, who are in the other semi-finals there. We'll check after this. It's important to use our home advantage. Here come the 2 teams in the Juanjo Camacho Stadium. Oh, it's a lovely time to be alive. It's terrifying. There is that Man City team. You won't recognise the names because they are all brilliant new gens. But let's get ourselves kicked off and hope that the lads can do the business. We're underway. in what is probably the biggest game in our history. Can we reach a Champions League final today? Let's go and find out. Okay, here we go then. 10 minutes in, we have our first proper highlight. It was City on the attack, but oh, that's a good tackle, but we've got away with it. Can we launch? We're under a lot of pressure. They're pressing quite highly, City. That's a risky pass from Farmy, but Martinez can deal with it. Nacho down the right-hand side. There's Alvarez then released. We've got players in the middle. J-Rod's in there. Pet Visa's in there. It's deflected, hit the post. That was it. That was maybe the chance to take the lead. He's so unlucky. I think it takes a little nick off the defender, and the scores will stay 0-0 here. Still a good sign, though, that we are threatening them when we go forward. A cagey first half then. We are approaching the half-an-hour mark. And we're on the attack again here. It has been a good half, I think you'd say. It's an even better half now because Luciano Sanchez has given us the lead. Smashed in the player that we kept our faith in over Victor Fernandez, the youngster. It's a lovely, lovely attack. Alvarez releases Pep Viso. What a player he is. And then it's that little cutback, finds the space, and the finish is completely unerring. He's smashed it in off the bar. We lead in a Champions League semi-final. 2-1 on aggregate, 1-0 on the night, half an hour played. Now I want to lock it down and just defend for our lives for the rest of the game. We have got 1 foot in the final. Can you believe this is happening? Let's just get to half-time. That's our first big milestone here. It's been an okay half. We've had 3 shots compared to City's 5, but we are maybe creating the better chances. We've got more possession too. 4 minutes until the half-time interval. Can we get there with our lead intact? It looks like we are going to. No more highlights. That's half time. We're halfway there, or we're 3/4 there, really. They're not performing very well. Our midfield is outperforming theirs. Sanchez and Viso, the two in there. What can I tell them here to let's not have any complacency. I'm going to try and get to 60, and then I'll start to maybe tweak things to try and lock this down a little bit. City are so dangerous, though. Can we keep them out? They are. Oh, my word. They've now had 11 shots. We've not seen them, so they've not been key highlights, but maybe showing a slight changing of approach from them. Maybe they're going for it a little bit more. They're on the attack now with this highlight. Ball over the top to Polini. Can they find the cutback? They go to Borges. Borges into Boccatula. Polini. Good save. North Alfami. It's a big save, that is. It does say there we're having to withstand heavy pressure. I've also noticed quite a few of our players are looking pretty tired in there as well. So I wonder, let's try and get to 60. I don't love doing subs before that because you end up having to chain and do other things and you regret them. So I want to get to 60, but there is another attack starting here. Maybe I should have changed it whilst it's clear that they are putting us under pressure. Boccatula's got it back in the box. He's found Polini into the box and cleared away. Back into Fernandez. There's Fernandez over. I will say their highlights they're not like super close. That's 58. I'm going to do changes now. We've got Viso's knackered. It's all these players that weren't fully fit that might need replacing. Nacho's only on a 6.3. I think he's been kind of terrorised on that right-hand side, but I don't want to throw a 17-year-old in. He might be 18 now, Diaz, actually. Is that a risk? I feel like it is. I think we can give him a bit more time, but he's tired and not playing well. Do you know what? I think if they're good enough, they're old enough. So let's throw Diaz in, and then let's also do Torres at left wing-back too for fresh legs at both fullback positions. And I'm going to bring on Victor Fernandez for the very tired Villegas, and we're going to move Sanchez back. 3 subs then. We're not going defensive or anything yet, but let's see if we can keep this City team out. 13 shots for them, 5 on target. The time is ebbing away, though. We're doing this. We are making our way through to a final here against a brilliant City team. There's 20 to play. Can we hold on? Surely we don't win the Champions League this year. Surely not. There's 75 on the clock. I'm twitching to make other changes to make this secure. There's a good change in here that we could do, which is to bring Diaz on. Jassy would be the change usually, but Diaz can play right side and he's very good. So let's do him for Alvarez. And then we don't have that defensive mid, do we? I don't really want to change in there. Pep Viso's tired, but he is so good that I'm going to leave him on. I am also, though, going to tell them to just maybe waste a little bit of time now. Is that risky? We'll do standard time wasting and then get to 80 and we'll make another change and waste time a bit more. 4 minutes added on. A couple of changes here. How many stoppages? We've only got 1 sub, 1 stoppage. We can now do Viso for Fonseca. We just need to survive 4 minutes and we're in a Champions League final. And it could be glorious. Man City have been beaten. SD Huesca are in the Champions League final. Pep Guardiola's City dispatched. And against all odds, I mean, look at the stats for the game. We got the early goal and we just hung on, didn't we? They attacked, They couldn't break down this defence. They couldn't break down this stubborn Huesca team. And we're in a Champions League final. We are absolutely on to complete everything today. Who will be our opponents in that Champions League final? Let's go and find out. The other semi-final was, or is, Porto. Porto have a 3-0 lead against Arsenal. It could be Porto in the final. This could genuinely be it. This is so ahead of schedule, but I'm now going to go and play the remaining league games, and I think it's pretty much a foregone conclusion that we're going to win the league here. Let's go and get this La Liga won and come back at the end of May where we're going to have a Champions League final. Let's first of all, though, before we do that, let's find out who our opponents are going to be. I assume it's being played on this Wednesday evening now. I'm in shock. We're actually getting to a Champions League final, and this is not part of the script. We could be winning it this year with these guys. Nacho could be lifting that trophy today. Here we go. This is glorious. Can Arsenal mount a comeback? No, they've won 2-0. It's Porto in the final. That seems so easy. I mean, they've beaten Arsenal, so they must be good. But, I mean, maybe I'm talking myself into an embarrassing defeat here. But if you could pick any team, I mean, they're obviously going to be really good. They've got Takai. They've got a lot of Japanese players. 4 Japanese players in their first team squad. I love that. A Kosovan who's really good as well. I guess we just go and find out. We are playing Porto in the final, which will be played on the 1st of June. We need to just go and complete our La Liga campaign now, and I'll be back to play a Champions League final. Can you believe this? This video might be very long, but it could be the end. Oh my God, we're in a Champions League final. I'll see you on the 1st of June. This is crazy. So this is it. We are in a Champions League final taking place in the San Siro, which feels weirdly fitting. I just realised as well, City were the holders last season and we've knocked them out, and we're up against Porto. I don't know if we'll ever get an opportunity as good as this one. Porto are still obviously really good. They have knocked out. Let's just have a look who they've knocked out in this competition. Obviously, Arsenal in the round before this, they did knock out PSG. They lost 4-1 to them and then beat them 4-1 and beat them on penalties. And then in the round before that, it was Napoli, and then they went straight through to the round of 16. So it is still a test, but on paper, you'd take this all day, every single day, right? A Champions League final. It is the 1st of June. We are on match day. We're about to submit our team. I need to go through and sort out who's going to play here. But before that, I do need to tell you that we did indeed win La Liga for another season. An 88-point season is by far our best. And it was all sealed after a 4-2 win against Valencia. J-Rod scored twice in this game. And we lifted the La Liga trophy and actually got to have a trophy lift, as you see here. Although it was Naf Alfami who lifted the trophy as captain, even though Nacho was playing and was the captain, which is just Football Manager doing weird Football Manager things, it seems. But either way, it's still glorious to see us actually lift that trophy. It's back-to-back La Ligas, and it's now a Champions League final. The other results to finish off the season, it was this 4-2 win against Valencia. It was Celta Vigo 2-1. Now, Jassy is possibly the biggest talking point here because he scored 2 in this game to win us that game. He then scored in this game away at Athletic Club, which we won 3-2 as well. And we did draw the last game 0-0. He's actually just been named as the player of the month. He's in fantastic form, 7.8 average rating in the 4 games that he played in May. It does make me think that maybe we need to lean towards him now that he's fully fit over Alvarez in this team. So let's pick a team for a Champions League final, and I guess that is the main question here. Farmy will continue in goal. He's slightly upset at the moment. He wants a new deal. He actually wants £230,000 per week, which I have offered him because we do have the money, but it's the first time that we're going to break that 200,000 a week mark, which is kind of significant, I guess. Martinez, Salas, Nacho, C, who are now fully fit, Viegas, Viso, and then Sanchez or Fernandez is the question. Sanchez, I think he repaid us in that last round, didn't he? He has got 10 goals, 9 assists, whereas Fernandez has got 11 and 11. But I think Sanchez scoring that semi-final goal, and because he's a bit of a club legend, and I've just realised, by the way, I remember Alvarez picked up an injury, so it's going to be Jassy anyway, because we are going to be missing out on Alvarez being able to play this game. I think we're going to go with Sanchez. Then it's going to be Jassy, J-Rod and Caballero with Cabrera on the bench, with Diaz on the bench, with some other good options like Luis, who actually ended up playing, by the way, 21 games this season. Definitely kicking on to a serious footballer. Definitely not that far away from being a starter, I don't think. Let's go through and pick. We've got one remaining sub because of the Alvarez injury. Who would we like to come in and be a really good option as maybe an attacking change in there. I'm just thinking about who's best. We've got Martaz on the bench already, by the way, one of the youngsters. Do we go with another? Tell you what, I think it's probably Rivera. You know, he's done so well in the B team this year. He has picked up 31 appearances, 7 goals, 9 assists. I think he is possibly the most established younger player that we could put on this bench. He is a left winger and so is Martos, but we've been using Martos as a striker. So I think that's the attacking changes that we need here. We might be slightly heavy in attacking changes, but that's where you want to make things, that's where you want to make the difference, isn't it? Do we have a right back change, a left back change, centre back change in Antonio? Maybe we're a little bit lacking. We've got a centre back change in Francisco. Fonseca, do we put, he's away anyway. I do wonder if we might need a midfielder instead of one of these guys. I might do Martos off and do... Let's go with Karabali as a defensive midfield option. He's also played a lot of games of football in the B team this year, and I think he's more suited to come in if we need to take off Villegas or Sanchez in this game. This is huge. I think I'm ready. I think I'm ready to go and play a Champions League final with SD Huesca. Come along on the journey with me, and I want you to admit something. If there's a small part of you right now that wants me to lose this game so that this series continues, you have to admit it in the comment section down below. I honestly, I actually kind of understand where you're coming from, if that's how you feel. But let's see. Let's go out there and prove that you are winners. There's the Porto team. Hatsuse, Takai, these Japanese, Nakamura, Japanese, I assume internationals in their team. There, though, Sociedad Deportiva Huesca, the lads, in a Champions League final at the San Siro. What a moment. What a time to be alive. Can we get the job done? Can we get over the line? Or will it be? This would be so disappointing if we didn't win this game. It would feel like the ultimate opportunity maybe would have passed. Should we get ourselves underway and start this game? Oh, I'm nervous. I'm scared. I'm terrified, in fact. Surely, though, we can go and do this. We are underway in a Champions League final. Let's do it! Come on! A very cagey first 10 minutes here, then. No shots. There's the first shot of the game, in fact, from us, which was off target with a very low XG. Here we go with the first highlight of the, is it 41? 2041 Champions League final. Villegas. Back to Martinez. Do you know what? It's kind of apt to see a Champions League final that has all of these names in there. It hasn't only come after our first generation of players have moved through the team. It's deflected over Sanchez so close. It's very poetic that we've got to a final with Nacho in the team, with Martinez, with Villegas, with Sanchez, with Caballero. I kind of wish Cabrera was in this team, but he's on the bench and I'm sure we'll get him onto the pitch because he's one of the OGs as well. With Farmi in goal, would it be perfect if we could win it here? It kind of would be. Half an hour played though. Not the most exciting of finals so far. 5 shots from us, 1 on target. They've also only got 1 on target. We do have the possession. We are maybe the better team, just about. We are keeping the ball and using it sensibly, according to the dugout. It's not an enthralling encounter as we head towards half-time here. It's cagey, at best, is how you describe this. Not a classic, although one thing that does make me feel kind of good, and it is something I do pay attention to quite a lot, it's the average rating of the two teams. Ours is slightly higher at 6.8. We've got Martinez, Sanchez and Tidiane C all playing pretty well. No changes from me. I am going to say, though, I'm not happy with them. See if we can motivate them for this second half. We do have good changes ready to use. Victor Fernandez, we've got Cabrera, we've got Gerardo Diaz. I've got players that I think could make a difference. Can the original lot, though, the first 11, can they go and do the business? Here's J-Rod. Back to Villegas, back to Martinez. Salas, into Sanchez. This is good football. Caballero out wide to Tidiane C. That left wing-back position, if that could be crucial, imagine it. It's bounced around. Pep Viso, the new golden boy, has scored in the Champions League final and we lead. There's only less than a half to play and it was kind of from the left wing back position. He gets the cross in, Tidiane C, and it's tackled before it gets to Jassy, and Pep Viso is there to rifle it home past the keeper, and we've got a lead with 40 minutes to play, just under. A second goal here, a quick 1-2 would maybe put Porto to bed. They've not really looked like they threaten us too much. All of the highlights, not that there's been basically any, all of them have been ours though, haven't they? Viso out wide to Nacho, down the right hand side. He finds Viso again, who finds Jassy wide. That was a chance, near post. Jassy got the shot in. 2 really good chances, well, a goal and then a really good chance for us. Have we taken this game by the scruff of the neck? It looks like it. 56 on the clock. Nacho with the throw in. Goes long but throws it straight to them, but Viso gets it back. Here's Nacho again. Jassy with chance to curl it. It's over the top, but again, promising signs in that Porto are not creating anything. Our attack has not really functioned yet, but Porto have not offered anything. They've made changes now. They've brought on Modric and Businha and Teixeira. 67 on the clock. I'm going to do changes just for fresh legs, I think, rather than anything else. J-Rod is going to be the change for Cabrera. I'm looking at some of this body language. I'm looking at the experience of players, the fitness, obviously. Villegas is apprehensive and not playing all that well. So let's do Villegas off for, let's put Sanchez deeper and bring on Victor Fernandez, I think is the change there. And then I think we'll use 2 now and then 2 in a bit. And then 1 at the end, maybe. Jassy with a corner to make this 2-0. This could put the game beyond them. There's only 22 minutes to play. Cabrera over. It would have been quite nice for Cabrera to score a Champions League final goal. I really, really could see that. He's such a threat as well from those set pieces. Over the top, though. 15 to play. Highlight for Porto. Here we go. This is a bit scary. They've offered nothing so far. Now they've got Teixeira over a free kick from the right. To the back post, it's in. Silvio Luis has equalised from nowhere. And suddenly, it's back to square one with only 15 to play. We need to go and try and find a winner now. It felt like the game was there for us. It felt like it was all us. And then a set piece has undone us. It's Pep Viso marking. He looks massive, Silvio Luis, and he's headed home. And we now need to react to that. Now it's time to think about this. So let's not panic, because obviously we've got extra time. And we've still got 10 minutes or so to play. Do I make a change now to try and force the issue a little bit? Who's going to make the biggest issue going forward here? I feel like, I don't want to take him off Caballero, but I feel like Gerardo Diaz is such a good player that he could make a difference. And he scored a lot of late goals for us. I'm also looking at Tidiane, who's very tired, but having a really good game. I'm going to do Diaz for Caballero. 5 to play. Let's have a good shout at them and demand more. Can we find a late but great winner here? Or is this going to extras? I imagine it goes penalties. I'm stressed. There's a highlight. Oh, my word. There's literally 8 seconds to play and Porto have the ball on the attack. It's gone out. Is that just going to be the end of the game? Are we getting a highlight here to show the final whistle? I think we are. It's end of 90 minutes. It was never going to be easy, was it? It should have been as well. The performance was there. We've let them score a set piece. It's extra time in the Champions League final now. I'm going to say I'm not happy with them. They do look fired up. We go to tactics. We now still have 3 subs to make because it takes it to 6. Do I make more subs now as we head into this extra half an hour? I want to do C, but I don't want to do C. I want to do... Who's going to make a difference off this bench? I talked about having loads of players that could make a difference, and now I'm looking at it going, they're all quite young and not as good as the players that are playing. Luis is the wild card, I suppose, but we've just brought on Diaz. Do we do Luis? Or do we do somebody like... Rivera is a real wild card in here. Torres might need to come on for Tidiane at some point, but I want to give him another 10 minutes just because he's got a little bit of recovery from the stoppage at the end here. Oh, feels like every move you make could be so vital here. I'm going to do it. We're going to do Jassy off, and we're going to move Diaz to the right, and Luis is going to come on in the on the left-hand side. We're underway in extra time. Porto have the first highlight, but it is just going to be the kickoff. We've deserved to win by looking at the stats, but we haven't been able to put the ball in the back of the net, and that is pretty important in football. If all of my experience is worth anything. Fernandez into Luis. Off the bench, goes down. It's not going to be a penalty. It was a good, strong tackle, and Porto tried to break, but we get the ball back. Diaz now playing on the right into Fernandez. He's a goal-scoring threat. So's Luis. Oh, you have to score that, Luis. He's hit it straight at the keeper. The goal was there. Half of that goal was just beckoning for him to put it in there, and he's hit the keeper. And that should have been 2-1. That would have been a really nice change because Fernandez would have set up Luis there. And I think Diaz was involved before, but it wasn't to be. We're approaching half-time. God, I'm stressed. I guess, because if we don't win this, you know, you only have to get unlucky next year and unlucky the year after, and suddenly you're looking at all these players retiring, all of these originals. Cabrera, one of the originals, finds Diaz, finds Fernandez! Victor Fernandez has put the ball in the back of the net, and we have the lead again. Okay, stop being... It's all doomsday about things because we've given ourselves the lead, and now there is just over 15 minutes to play. Cabrera gives it to Diaz, and Diaz finds Fernandez, and he can't really miss from there. Even the deflection helps him out. Get to half-time, and then we've got another change to make, haven't we? Let's now... You don't even get a chance to make a change. Let's now do what we did against City. It's going to be Tidiane off for Gabriel Torres. There's actually one more change that we could make. We could do Visa, but he's playing so well. We could do Nacho, but he's so important. Or we could do Sanchez off for what would have to be a youngster, which I don't want to do. Let's look at the subs instead and make the decision based on that. I think I'm going to trust the youngster again. Antonio Diaz on for Nacho. This entire save has been about the premise of trusting the youngster. So I'm going to trust the youngsters. Both of those on for the freshest that we can be. And with 10 minutes to go, or just about, we're going to go to balanced. And we're going to start to incrementally make these changes to try and see us through, as that was close from Porto. Farmy claimed it, and I didn't really see what was going on. I think he went up for the ball there against Salas, which is terrifying. Don't you dare mess around with it at the back here. We've lost it. I've only gone balanced. I haven't gone defensive or anything here, but I'm now scared. Oh, it's in it. Oh, no, it's over. That was it. That was the Carragher moment in the Champions League final that I'm thinking of. There's 5 to play. I'm just gonna praise them, and I'm gonna, what am I gonna do here? Let's go to team instructions. Let's get them to waste a bit of time. In fact, let's just waste time. There's 5 minutes to play here. I don't think I've got any changes. There's 2 minutes to play. I'll tell you what I am going to do. One other little change here is that in possession, we're going to drop Fernandez back as well. And then out of possession, we're going to have both of those coming in to play defensive midfield. Why could you possibly not do that? Surely you're playing in the same position. That is absolutely fine. We're also, I suppose, there's no reason to have these guys flying forward like that now. Fernandez can't really play it. Can Viso play it? No, I don't think so. I think you're going to have to cope, my friend. There are no subs left. We're just going to stick 2 DMs in there. There's a minute to play, and SD Huesca could be Champions League winners here. We are. We've won the Champions League. We've done it. Youth Academy only completed it, mate. SD Huesca, well ahead of schedule, actually. I did not think we were going to do it this year. Have won the Champions League. Naufal Farmi is going to lift that trophy. I guess Nacho wasn't on the pitch, maybe. We are Champions League winners. It only took 16 seasons. It only took about 10 hours of this series to get to this point, maybe even more, and we've done it. One of the greatest saves I've ever taken on. One of the greatest adventures I've ever taken on, I think. And I tell you what, I'm probably going to go and carry on playing this save because this was so much fun. Jan Oblak was the Porto manager, and we've beaten them. Goals from Viso and Fernandez, 2 young midfielders that I really forced into this team and forced to develop. Victor Fernandez, what a coming of age moment for him, and we've won it. All I have to say, I guess, is thank you so much for coming along on this adventure with me. I guess this is where it ends. That's kind of sad. I know that there was loads of you that didn't want me to win this game, but we've won the Champions League. We've won La Liga. It's what we set out to do, and I guess we've completed it. So thank you so much for being along on the journey with me. If you've not subscribed to the channel, make sure you do, because I guess we have to go on another adventure right now. And somebody did leave a comment, by the way, mentioning multi-club save. What about a multi-club youth save? And I come up with something funky along those lines. Would you watch that? Let me know in the comments down below. And thank you so much for all of your support on this. I couldn't appreciate you anymore. And this is me, an SD Huesca, I guess, signing out. We probably will do some type of dive into the current ability and potential ability of players, and we'll do some type of follow-up video, so keep an eye on the channel for that. But this was glorious. I'll catch you soon. Thanks for watching. SD Huesca out.